The Russians again encountered substantial resistance in their efforts to control additional territory. But as the weekend began, there were fears that a military convoy stalled all week is preparing to attack the capital, Kiev. President Volodymyr Zelensky ended the week making an address to the nation and urging his people to remain strong.
We can't say how many more days we will need to take our land back, but we can do it because we want to do it. We already have strategic victory.
The week saw Russia advance baseless claims about US chemical weapons facilities in Ukraine that the White House warned could be used as a pretext to launch a Russian chemical attack inside the country. President Biden warned any use of chemical weapons would elicit a US response. The US also said this week it supports war crimes investigations, particularly after the Russian bombing of a maternity hospital in the Black Sea port city of Mariupol. State Department spokesman Ned Price.
To every political leader sitting in Moscow, to every Russian commander on the ground in Ukraine, to every Russian service member on the ground right now, our message has been clear. If you take part, order, or party to such war crimes, such abuses, such atrocities, we will do everything we can to hold you accountable.
There was division within the Biden administration about a Polish plan to send MiG fighter jets to Ukraine. Initially, Secretary of State Antony Blinken green-lighted the idea, saying America would replace any fighter jets the Poles sent to Ukraine. But the Pentagon overruled him. The spokesman there, John Kirby.
The transfer of combat aircraft right now could be mistaken by Mr. Putin and the Russians as an escalatory step. We need to be careful about every decision we make.
Lots of additional sanctions were implemented against Russia. President Biden banned all imports of Russian oil. The UK said it would phase out the use of Russian oil by the end of the year. The EU pledged to cut its reliance on Russian energy by 2/3. And Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, was among 7 Russian oligarchs sanctioned this week by the British government. By the end of the week, the UN said more than 2.5 million people had fled Ukraine. In other developments, US inflation hit 7.9% in February, a 40-year high, and explorers found the almost intact wreckage of Endurance, the ship used by polar explorer Ernest Shackleton. It sank off the Antarctic in 1907. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. More on inflation now. It is front of mind for investors on Wall Street. They're also worried about the energy sector in light of price rises caused by the crisis in Ukraine. With the preview from FSN's business desk in New York, here's Will Denzelo.
US stocks have been on a wild ride in recent weeks as traders continue to assess the impact Russia's invasion on Ukraine and subsequent sanctions will have on the global economy. But the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting that wraps on Wednesday will also be of keen interest on Wall Street. Traders have priced in a 100% likelihood that the Fed will begin to raise interest rates in a bid to curb inflation that's up at 40-year highs. The only question for investors is how aggressively the central bank will act. Also out this week is retail sales data. Consumer spending is the biggest driver of the US economy, so this figure is always of keen interest for traders.
We learnt on Friday that the White House has held a briefing with 30 TikTok influencers about events in Ukraine. From FSN's bureau in Silicon Valley, Ara Spitzer with that story.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and other U.S. staffers briefed the TikTok influencers about issues including the U.S.'s strategic goals in the region and how Washington would react to the Russian use of nuclear weapons. With both pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian views widely circulating on the social media platform, the event was an indication of how much power the most popular TikTok personalities wield. The video sharing platform, which is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, is used by more than 1 billion people and is especially popular with younger users. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
In the coming week, we are braced to continue covering whatever happens in the Ukraine crisis from multiple datelines around the world, here and on leading broadcast TV and radio networks everywhere. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
Now, a lot of little girls do ballet even though their fathers couldn't care less and don't see what the big deal is. But one talented little prodigy actually choreographed a whole ballet that her father could enjoy and even look forward to. Let's meet Erin Kemper and her father, Jack.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Erin, how did you do that?
I thought about all the things that my dad likes to watch and put it into a ballet.
Well, we have a special treat for you today because Erin is now going to perform her new ballet. When I pay the bills, I get to make the rules.
We can't afford that. World War II. I miss your mother too, but we're going to have to do the best without her. Go Redskins!
Bravo! Well done. Boy, I wish you were mine. You know, my two girls are grown up, but you still couldn't pay me to watch one of their a cappella shows. What inspired you to create this amazing ballet?
I'm really inspired by the theme of my dad paying any attention to me at all.
Now, at the end, I hear she just put the game up on the big screen.
I don't know where she gets it.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
Yeah, so kicking off the pre-show with a tasteless joke. I like it.
This should kick off the regular show with a tasteless joke.
All right, here we go. Did you hear about the horny guy who was bad at spelling?
No.
He spent the night in a warehouse.
Balanta.
Timpani, please. Yes, timpani. This is Free Talk Live. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. The telephone number here is 603-283-6160. Why am I giving you that number? Well, because we're a call-in radio talk show that's also on the internet and on some satellite stations. We're being broadcast live 7 nights a week, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. This is the Sunday edition. I am the Reverend Captain Kickass. I am your host. Joining me,
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
I can give you the star date, 03132022, as this Sunday sermon is now in session.
Amen.
And a woman. Or many women, not just one, right?
Can you do that with hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
I knew a girl named Hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. All right. I wanted to kick off the show with this was brought to my attention today. I'll give credit to Steve Classic at dinner before the show. Some of us gathered to have dinner on a relatively frequent basis. And he pointed out that, well, cancel culture has now come for an entire country.
That's true.
It's totally true. Russia has been canceled. Sorry, it's just been canceled. It's like somebody else brought up something that reminded me of the Black Mirror series of television shows. If you haven't seen those, watch those. But there's one where like you can block a person like from reality. They become just sort of this gray, figure, this blob that can't really communicate with you at all. It exists still, and you can like bump into it physically, but it's otherwise like blurted out or grayed out for audio, video, the whole 9 yards. And so you can actually block somebody permanently. And so this is what has happened for the rest of the world, at least as far as the U.S. is concerned, because, so the government's doing the government thing. Of course, they're going to do that. But now we have corporations.
Yes.
Right. Large entities, McDonald's, for example, Netflix, these types of things, who are like DuckDuckGo, right? We talked a little bit about that.
That one was sad. I expected better from them.
Totally.
Yeah, me too.
But all of these companies are like, oh, yeah, we're going to show that we support the Ukraine by blocking Russia or otherwise filtering results or whatever it is they're doing.
So one of the beautiful things, maybe that's a bad phrasing, of reading through the news each week about the whole Russia-Ukraine thing is all like the very creative countermeasures, right, that Russia has employed.
Yes.
Right? So they go like, oh, you're not going to have McDonald's in Russia? No more trademarks.
Right.
Yeah,
open whatever McDonald's you want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's just get rid of IP law altogether.
Altogether.
Right. And so now, all of a sudden, there's no fear from the Russian people to, download things that would be on all of these subscription services that rape you for $10 or $20 a month, whatever it is.
Reasonable fee for what they provide.
Yeah, totally reasonable.
Voluntary.
But now they got no reason to pay because they can't. So, and if you're going to just eliminate IP law altogether, why then download to your heart's content?
And the other one that I was reading this week was the Russian banking system. Right, they're like, okay, now that we're cut off from the Western banks,
Yep.
any Russian company that owes the West money, like you can pay that back in rubles, but you don't have to go pay them in rubles. You open up an account in their name at a Russian bank, deposit it into the account, that absolves you of your debt to that Western company, and then the Western company has to come claim it from the which they can't do.
Right.
So I go, ooh, like what? Like, you know,
it's funny as a technician, if you will, right? I've spent a lot of time around like software, and one of the things that has been a permanent fixture of almost every job that I've ever had is troubleshooting. And big part of troubleshooting, finding a workaround.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes you need to find a workaround just to get the person up and running on whatever it is, you know, their service, whatever. But other times it's necessary because it's going to take some time for like software development to put that on their bug list or their feature request and, you know, all that kind of thing. So finding workarounds. Now, everything that's come up with the Ukraine and Russia, whether it's financial, whether it's communications, whether it's canceling, like there exists a workaround, mainly because of blockchain technology. And I'm not just talking about finance.
Okay.
Right? I'm talking about other things, right? I heard Facebook is canceling Russia, right? So
not a huge loss.
Not a huge loss, but at the same time, there are things that you can use if you're in Russia. There are certain...
There's like a Facebook clone, like VK or whatever that thing was called.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
No, that's old.
Oh.
Yeah.
There are things you can do, like you'll fire up a VPN, say you're from a different country, go to Facebook.com, right? There's workarounds for all this stuff. You get on the dark web, right? You know, if you need access to somebody else's computer remotely, you can go purchase that service from somebody else. So, like, now you can just remote desktop into a computer that's at an IP where you can, like, all of these things have workarounds. And it's great because for the first time, like, normally the news would be all like, oh, the sanctions have been applied. The poor Russian people are having a hard time getting food and clothes and blah, blah. Nothing really.
It's not even true yet.
Well, it can be for the ones who aren't tech savvy.
Sure.
Or, you know, of sort of a mind of like working around. Some people just sort of accept their complacency and servitude and go, oh, woe is me. But like people who are like actively trying to like, well, you know, I need to access this one thing, or, you know, I want to watch movies, so I'm going to find a way. There are ways, and they're innumerable, right? I can't even tell you how many ways there are to work around all of this stuff, and I hope that the people, the individuals in Russia and all these places that have been affected by this cancel culture, canceling an entire country, are using these workarounds to their advantage.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is pretty sad because, right, I think we can all agree that the Russian government is not great. Like any government, it's evil and corrupt.
Yep.
But there are a lot of people, normal people like you and me, that live in Russia that would suffer due to these sanctions and all of the other things without these workarounds that you're talking about. So it's just kind of messed up that all of these like anti-war, pro-peace seeming people are advocating for destroying the Russian economy when there are real people that live there.
Yes.
Yeah. And you were talking about something interesting before the show as well. You were talking about the T-shirt concept.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Let's tell the listeners about this.
So, again, I was questioning at dinner before the show.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many Russians, like average everyday Russians, are over there going like, well, we don't support Russia's war, but we do support Russia's troops.
Right, like they do here in the U.S.
Like they do.
Yeah.
And so I want to put that on a shirt. Like, I don't support Russia's war, but I do support Russia's troops. So.
For only $29.99.
Go print. Well, just send me one. Sell it to whomever you want. Send me one. I don't care. I'm not going to do it.
I'll take one, too. I'm a 3X.
Okay. 1X.
I prefer black shirts, of course.
Okay.
In case anybody's going to do that.
But again, it again highlights the fact that there are Russian civilian citizens, whatever, who are affected by all this, who didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's just their government doing government things. But with the lifting of IP restrictions, right? I go like, well, sometimes the government can get it right. Right? Like, can we say like, no, they shouldn't have done it? No, it was
that's a great idea.
It's a great idea. So,
Yeah, and there was a meme that goes right along with this point that I saw recently. It was something like, with like Coca-Cola and Pepsi banning, Russia, and the banks, pulling out, and IPB, like Russia's going to be one of the healthiest, most well-adjusted and well-informed nations to have ever existed. 603-283-6160. Are you canceling Russia or Russian people or Russian culture or anything Russian in your life? Let us know. This is Free Talk Live. More coming up.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
When a lunar observatory detects a radio broadcast originating from Proxima Centauri, the nations of Earth discover their first contact with an alien race may also be their last. With the Proximans facing an extinction-level disaster, Earth must choose between sending a ship on a multi-year journey or allowing nature to take its course. Saving Proxima, a hard science fiction thriller by Travis S. Taylor and Les Johnson from BaneBooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
My name is Angel Rach. I'm a mother of 2 teenage children, and I fought all the way to the Supreme Court for the right to use the medicine that saved my life. I've been permanently disabled for 10 years, with an inoperable brain tumor, wasting syndrome, and several other serious conditions. For 4 years, I was in a wheelchair, in so much pain, I couldn't even hug my kids. The hardest part was looking in their eyes and seeing how much they were suffering because of my medical condition. The medicine that gave me my life back and gave my kids their mom back was cannabis, also known as medical marijuana. With medical marijuana, I can walk, maintain my weight, and I can be a mom. Without it, my doctors believe that I would die. To learn more about medical marijuana, contact Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or on the web at mpp.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
I can teach you both how to speak one word in the Australian accent in less than 5 seconds.
Okay.
Instead of saying the word space race, you replace the word race with rice. Go ahead.
Space rice.
Okay.
Space rice.
Okay, now.
I think I tried, though, so that didn't really count.
Replace the word space with spice. Go.
Spice rice.
Spice rice.
That
time
I didn't try, and that was pretty good.
It's a spice rice.
Nice.
Yes. If you like one variety of rice better than all the other, are you a racist?
I am, yeah.
Calrose.
Calrose. Yeah, I like basmati.
Yeah, it's a tie for me between basmati and jasmine rice.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on the cuisine.
The sometimes the jasmine rice is a little too jasmine-y.
Yeah, it's for like Asian food, so yeah. I'm glad we can agree on that.
Calrose is a staple.
You grew up?
Well, I got older.
603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us here on Free Talk Live. You can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your mind. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
We're going to take control of the airwaves now and talk about something.
Cool.
I did want to, let's just breeze over the Bitcoin thing. Bitcoin.com has an article that I've titled, Should You Leave the Cryptocurrency Exchanges? Well,
yes.
Yes. Caveat, unless you're on there like doing some trading or, whatever, that kind of thing. Don't leave your cryptocurrency on the exchanges.
Yeah.
I'm not a financial advisor, but don't leave your cryptocurrency
not
on
your
the
keys,
exchanges.
Not your coin.
Not your keys, not your coin. Not your keys, not your money. You don't have the keys. It's somebody else's money. Whatever quantity of crypto you have on the exchanges, take care of the business you got to take care of, and then get it the heck out of there.
You can equivocate it to like a checking or a savings account or a stock account if you're buying and trading stock, right? That's not going to be the bulk of your funds is going to be in the trading account. You're going to take out what you want and put it on what you control, i.e. your savings account, and just trade with what you have on there. And if your gains are if you've got some good gains and you want to pull some of that out, then you put it on your own wallet outside of that.
That's excellent non-financial advice.
Sure.
Richie Rich. So this article says the Bitcoin exchange reserves. This is how much Bitcoin these exchanges have, on hand. Has dropped to the lowest point in 3 years.
Oh, can we have a run on the exchanges? I'm withdrawing everything. Does that even work?
Everybody talks about how there's a whole bunch of people that now believe that government shut down crypto because Canada, right? Which is just retarded. They didn't shut down cryptocurrency. What they did is they told some exchanges not to send or receive from a few specific addresses.
Right.
Which, if you know anything about cryptocurrency, you know that you just create a new address, no big deal.
And a lot of wallets, like legit wallets where people can own their keys, were like, we can't do that, and that's literally the whole point.
Yes.
So they just told them to basically F off.
Yeah. Not only can we not do it, but even if we could, we would be violating our own product, the nature of it. So,
and the one that was really stuck it to him wasn't even in the jurisdiction. Not only do we not have to follow Canada's laws, we couldn't even if we had to.
The number of Bitcoin held on exchanges has continued to drop in recent times as the metric suggests crypto advocates are pulling funds off of trading platforms.
Good.
For long-term holding or, to avoid governments targeting exchanges and freezing all of their wealth, that they have in crypto sphere, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah. At the time of writing, 2.32 million Bitcoin, worth over $90 billion, is currently held on centralized cryptocurrency exchanges. Far too much, in my opinion. We could use to cut that down a good, half or more.
Which is why local Bitcoin used to be such a good resource.
Yeah.
Right? I have cash, you have Bitcoin, let's trade, and then we do so.
Yep.
Right? And then you get it out of your, your local Bitcoin wallet because they had their own little proprietary thing as well.
Yep.
But you didn't have to, there was no like, here's my ID, here's a picture of me holding up my ID that you got to get a friend to take, here's all my bank account information so you can track that as well.
Yep.
It's like, no, I don't.
Yeah, zero privacy there.
Yeah, I don't want to do any of that. I have cash and I want some Bitcoin. Like, who do I talk to, man?
Yep. It was great. And
the good old days.
And there should be more services like that.
There should be.
There should be. And if there are, let us know. 603-283-6160.
There was a local Monero for a little while too, but I didn't really use that one.
I see folks, I scour the Craigslist from time to time.
Okay.
And I do this a little more frequent than I used to in the years that I've discovered. On the left-hand side of Craigslist, they have a little box you can check when you're looking at stuff for sale that says cryptocurrency okay.
Yep.
And I did a thing the other day because Craigslist also has this search function where you can type in search, a radius from my zip code, and you 10 miles, 20 miles, 100 miles, whatever it is. I typed in like 5,000 miles, which should be anywhere. That's not
pretty far, yeah.
Pretty much the entire United States from here and Canada, and then checked the box for cryptocurrency okay, and I sorted by most expensive. Right, and there's people selling some really cool stuff, expensive stuff.
For crypto.
Yeah. And then there's some medium stuff and some low budget stuff as well. And I was completely taken aback at how much stuff on Craigslist is willing to be sold for cryptocurrency, at least according to checking that box. Now, you got to go through your normal routine and vet somebody out, make sure they're not a scammer of some kind or they're just trying to take your crypto and, that kind of thing. So be very careful. But it's a very awesome thing. And then I'll run across ads sometimes that are people like, hey, I'm local to this area, and I have some crypto. What do you have to trade or barter? Kind of a thing. And you can reply through Craigslist.
I have Federal Reserve notes to barter, good friend.
Right, yes. So, again, workarounds, man. Workarounds.
It's a beautiful thing.
Workarounds, So that's basically the point of this article is that a whole bunch of people apparently have been listening to Free Talk Live and taking our not financial advice.
Good job.
And taking their cryptocurrency off of the exchanges. So, yeah, good job, everyone. Well done.
Well, the more those exchanges get into the pocket of the government, like asking for regulations and giving them information, the more those people should consider getting more off.
Yes.
Yeah. Who wants to be a part of that nonsense?
That was not how it was pitched in the beginning.
It's like the whole point of cryptocurrency.
Was not to be in that system.
If I wanted nonsense, I'd be using USD.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. And, that kind of goes for anything. If I wanted nonsense, I'd turn to the government.
Yeah.
But no.
What's the old adage? If you want something like, done half as well at twice the cost and double the time, government's your man. 603-283-6160. Coming up, we're going to talk about here's how we use cookies. No, I'm kidding. A North Carolina mom says, well, we'll find out what she says. Coming up, it's the Sunday night edition. This is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of it here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee, a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off. Now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes and could be completely taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so we're now streaming live every night and posting our video archives permanently to Odysee. You can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel by visiting video.freetalklive.com. If you want to go all in, download the desktop app at lbry.com, and then every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. At minimum, we ask you visit video.freetalklive.com and follow us on Odysee today. video.freetalklive.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the second full week of Russia's invasion of Ukraine ended with President Vladimir Putin authorizing the deployment of as many as 16,000 mercenaries from Syria and other parts of the Middle East to support Russian forces in Ukraine. The Russians again encountered substantial resistance in their efforts to control additional territory. But as the weekend began, there were fears that a military convoy stalled all week is preparing to attack the capital, Kiev. President Volodymyr Zelensky ended the week making an address to the nation and urging his people to remain strong.
We can't say how many more days we will need to take our land back, but we can do it because we want to do it. We already have strategic victory.
The week saw Russia advance baseless claims about U.S. chemical weapons facilities in Ukraine that the White House warned could be used as a pretext to launch a Russian chemical attack inside the country. President Biden warned any use of chemical weapons would elicit a U.S. response. The U.S. also said this week it supports war crimes investigations, particularly after the Russian bombing of a maternity hospital in the Black Sea port city of Mariupol. State Department spokesman Ned Price.
To every political leader sitting in Moscow, to every Russian commander on the ground in Ukraine, to every Russian service member on the ground right now, our message has been clear. If you take part, order, or party to such war crimes, such abuses, such atrocities, we will do everything we can to hold you accountable.
There was division within the Biden administration about a Polish plan to send MiG fighter jets to Ukraine. Initially, Secretary of State Antony Blinken green-lighted the idea, saying America would replace any fighter jets the Poles sent to Ukraine. But the Pentagon overruled him. The spokesman there, John Kirby.
The transfer of combat aircraft right now could be mistaken by Mr. Putin and the Russians as an escalatory step. We need to be careful about every decision we make.
Lots of additional sanctions were implemented against Russia. President Biden banned all imports of Russian oil. The UK said it would phase out the use of Russian oil by the end of the year. The EU pledged to cut its reliance on Russian energy by 2/3. And Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, was among 7 Russian oligarchs sanctioned this week by the British government. By the end of the week, the UN said more than 2.5 million people had fled Ukraine. In other developments, US inflation hit 7.9% in February, a 40-year high, and explorers found the almost intact wreckage of Endurance, the ship used by polar explorer Ernest Shackleton. It sank off the Antarctic in 1907. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back. It is a drum roll, please. Oh, wait, I just talked over the drum roll. Oh, hey, try not to do that. That's probably messing with somebody's speakers. It's weird.
We can't hear it if I do it down here.
Well, but we already heard it. I was talking over it, kind of, so
you asked
there was
for
a drum
it.
roll. Okay.
Careful what you wish for, Captain.
I guess. Beautiful, unclothed, naked women from heaven.
Oh, gosh, I just got hit with one.
I had to check in case you never know how far your superpowers extend. So you have to,
check the roof after, on the next break.
That was a bit from, what's the Kevin Smith movie? Dogma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where like Rufus falls from the head, as the dude was like, and he's like, beautiful, and I can't say the words, blah, 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 women don't just fall out of the sky every day, yo. And then he looks up and he's waiting, and nothing happens, and he's like, damn it. I would have been the same way, too. Anyway, 603-283-6160 is the telephone number. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
So this is Richie Rich, you always bring in quality content.
Appreciate it.
This one caught my eye.
It's not as bizarre as what I would normally bring in. but it's still
no, but it's still like really like
Really?
it's 20. What year is it?
2022.
And like yeah, do you want to read this one?
I can.
If not, I can. I have it
up to
here.
you.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
This is from the News and Observer, whatever that is. I'm not familiar with that publication. North Carolina mom says black students were sold at a school slave auction, in quotes. District condemns racism.
So going into this article, I read the headline and I went, was this a school function? Like, was this part of history class?
That's my thought too. In my middle school, at the last year of that before your freshman year, your 8th grade.
Yeah.
They had this thing called it was called trade fair. It was mock capitalism.
Okay.
Right? And the idea was you and one or two other people got together and you created a fake store. You sold whatever it is you want. I did a records and CDs, right? At a record shop because I had a bunch, right?
Yeah,
And I'm like, I could just haul all those to school, which in retrospect was a bad idea. But whatever. It was just a lot of work is all. And then they would, like the government, print fake money and distribute it to everybody. So it was very much statism training. And then, all the teachers and like families were invited to come and participate, and you got to sell whatever it is. And so I had this vision of like a whole bunch of students had these like little tiny fake businesses going on, except one of them was like actively trading slaves in their school somehow. And I was like, that can't happen.
That can't happen.
That can't happen.
But not only that, I was like, well, if this was a school function, right, with woke culture being what it is, you couldn't have like a white student playing the role of the black slave.
Right.
Right? You would have to like be specific with your role association. And so, of course, black students would
I don't
be the
know. I
ones.
think that's worse.
What?
Making the black kids the slaves?
I mean, it would be if you're
What are
trying
they
to
gonna
be
say?
They were meant to play.
Cultural appropriation?
Yes.
Like, seriously?
If you're trying to be like poignant or something like that. Do you remember the old school Star Trek had this episode where there was a guy who was half white and half black, and then he was fighting another guy who was also half black and half white, except they were on the opposite sides.
Like mirror images.
So so one guy was half black on the left, but the other guy was half white on the left, and so that's why they were fighting, and so it was an illustration lesson in racism. So unless they were doing something like that, where like, the black kid gets to sell the white kid or something as sort of like a reverse lesson in like, hey, this is what it would look like, then that also can't happen.
Yeah, it's just bad.
Because then they would cry out critical race theory.
Yeah.
Right? And like, you can't be teaching that this is bad.
Slavery bad. Is that too difficult for people to understand?
Yeah, it should
like
be.
Like human rights.
Should be that simple.
Everybody's got them. Everybody deserves them. Doesn't matter what you look like.
Although it should be that simple, and yet it's not. Because people don't understand fully what slavery is. When people, at least westernized people, think of slavery, they immediately think to
chattel slavery in America.
They've all seen the movie Roots, and they go, "Oh, that's what slavery looks like." The Southern plantation guy with the big mustache and the hat and the all white get-ups and all that kind of stuff. And then everybody else just in chains working the fields and singing songs and, whatever. That's what it's a stereotypical image. What slavery really is when somebody or some organization takes from you your effort, your life's effort, right? You are alive, you're a being of energy, and you give off energy and you put effort into things, right? When somebody takes that from you and makes it their own, that is slavery. Now, in some people's mind, there's a question of percentage.
Yes.
Right? So most cultures around planet Earth recognize that taking 100% of another human being's life effort is overt slavery. Complete. You are my subject. I do with you whatever it is that I want at any time, and you must do it or else. Right? 100%. Now, most people falsely believe that slavery has been abolished because of this percentage rule, or rule of thumb. It's not really a rule. It's a misconception is what it is. This misconception of percentage slavery. Because if I'm only 1% a slave, I'm still a slave. but just 1%. If I'm a 20% slave, I'm still a slave, 20%. If you're taking 20% of my life's effort, I am 20% your slave, or 20% of the time at least.
I think most people would complain a lot less if it was just 1%.
And
like there might not even be a libertarian movement if it was 1%.
And I think also the thing with taxation is people have this illusion that they are getting something, they're receiving something from their tax dollars, right?
Yeah.
So they think
hang on
that
real quick, because we've all made the jump between slavery and taxation because we're us.
Yeah.
But our listeners might not have made the jump from slavery to taxation, but that is the point of the percentage. Who takes a percentage of your life from you without your consent? Well, that's government. How do they do so? They extract it from your paycheck or from your business or from your property.
Or show up at your house with men with guns.
If you refuse to pay them, of course. Right. So anyway, I'm sorry, continue.
So people have this false illusion that they are getting something in return for the money that is stolen from them. I mean, at one point when I was in Massachusetts, 30% of my paycheck, I didn't have health insurance or anything from my job. This was all in federal and state income taxes. 30% or more. That's ridiculous. And what did I get in return for that? The roads that have potholes and like literal craters in them, you know, and they're like, oh well, the hospitals and the library and the fire station, and they make up all of this fake stuff that we get in return for our taxes, and none of it's real.
Department of Land and Natural Resources.
Like, are you kidding?
There are so many departments of that like don't need to exist. The Department of Redundancy Department is one of them. Right?
Well,
and
we know
exist.
they don't need to exist because when the government did the shutdown a few years ago, they shut down the non-essential services and then should have made that permanent.
A perfect illustration of how nothing happens when the government shuts down. Like everything just continues on and probably continues on much better in the first place.
And I think it's also really important to note that if we were to not get all of that money stolen from us through taxes, we could do all of the services that the government does. Except way cheaper.
And better.
Way better, way more efficient, way quicker, just better all around.
Imagine you're driving down the road and you encounter a pothole, and you know your car goes boom, boom, and you're like, you snarl because there's a damn pothole.
Call someone.
And call Domino's.
There's an app.
Call Domino's. Domino's was filling potholes better than the government.
How about there's an app where you can just go, hey, I spotted a pothole, and then it automatically logs the location, you know, that it was at, and a team comes out and they fix the pothole before the next time you drive on it. Why doesn't that exist? Because government claims a monopoly on the roads and doesn't allow competition, so innovation never happens. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
And that's how space travel is possible today.
Precognition.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys were able to sit through my spiel on space travel there during the break. I know it's complicated, but I have full confidence in you all absorbing the content of the syllabus.
Very educational. Thank you.
I mean, if it's just space travel, is that really all that difficult?
Time travels
like
next
like
break.
I said, I had full confidence in you, so yeah, no, shouldn't be. 603-283-6160 is the telephone number here at Free Talk Live. In the studio, it's me, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
So,
and coming up in the last segment, Captain talks about time travel instead.
Man, I am so hungry. I haven't eaten anything since Thursday of last week.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast 3 days from now. It's time travel jokes.
I got it, but Thursday of last week makes sense. And I thought maybe it was. Wasn't sure if you were trying to be funny or because you're on a diet.
At first, I was traveling backwards in time.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I was traveling forwards in time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also don't remember what I had for breakfast last Thursday.
Yeah.
Me either.
I can't remember what's for dinner tomorrow. At any rate, we've been talking. Well, we've been tangenting. We talked about the headline of this article.
There's a lot of show to fill.
We have plenty.
Okay.
Thanks to you, mostly. I have a couple of things, but yeah, you know, you're bringing the gold here, Richie Rich. So anyway, NC Mom, that's North Carolina, I believe, says black students sold at school slave auction. District condemns racism. Some black students were reportedly sold, quote unquote, by classmates at a recent, quote unquote, slave auction at a
mock slave auction. Wasn't a real slave auction.
I mean, it doesn't say mock. It doesn't say
that changes things.
It does.
It is in quotes, but that's why I did quote unquote.
Okay.
At Chatham County School, prompting the superintendent, as opposed to just the regular intendant, to send a letter to families condemning recent unacceptable incidents. But, they never send a letter to families condemning, like, the existence of public schools. At any rate, in a letter sent Tuesday night, Chatham County Superintendent Anthony Jackson told families that the district had become aware of recent incidents involving students using racially insensitive language and offensive imagery. Jackson's letter doesn't specifically describe the incidents, but a Chatham County parent who has been in contact with the district officials detailed in Facebook posts about the slave auction and a video that used the N-word.
Oh, no.
Nitrous oxide?
Who knows?
Our son experienced a slave auction by his classmates, and when he opened up, we were made aware that this type of stuff seems to be the norm so much that he didn't think it was worth sharing.
Oh, God.
Ashley Palmer wrote in a Facebook post Friday. His friend went for $350, and another student was the slave master because he, quote, knew how to handle them, unquote.
Oh, my God.
So this is what I'm talking about. So they did this thing, right? And, okay, it's bad. Got it. No problem there. But how do you participate in this as the slave being sold for $350?
Especially in like a public school setting. I mean, bullying's a thing, so
do you think it's a bullying thing?
I just have to read this next bit before.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
Sorry.
We even have a video of students harmonizing the N-word. Since when were children so blatantly racist? I can answer that. Ooh, pick me over here.
Captain, you in the back.
Since forever. Because, I'm a child of the early 70s, right? And so I was, 1976. I was born in 77. I was 4 years old. So 77, 78, right? A majority of the white people who had kids that were my age were totally racist, at least in their speech. And it was, it was difficult. Right. I grew up in it, and so it was normal. Right. So for the time being, when you're a child and that seems normal to you, you're a kid. You just go out and play. You don't know what you're playing about. You don't do any deep thoughts into the philosophy or the moral implications of the playing that you're doing. What you're doing is you're imitating something. Generally
Which is what kids
speaking.
do.
Yeah, they're racist parents.
So these kids are imitating their racist parents, obviously.
Where is this?
Did it say Carolina?
North Carolina? Okay, so
Chatham County, North Carolina. Yeah. I mean, I played Cowboys and Indians as a kid. Am I racist?
I did too. And
I did too.
We had no Indians to speak of.
Yeah. So what do you do? You just someone pretends
somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's
someone culturally appropriates the Indian by putting a little feather in their head.
I call it acting.
Okay.
Right.
There's a new term now. We're PC now. It's cultural appropriation.
It's not acting anymore.
Well, which again is why when we go back to the article,
pretend play.
Who's going to play the slave?
Pretend,
sure.
Play, right? Yeah.
No, I got it.
Okay.
I mean, I would also just think that these kids at this point would have learned about slavery, like slavery bad, like this isn't a nice thing to do.
You would think.
Or at least touched upon racism, like, hey, I see you calling other students racial slurs. I'm a teacher, so it's my job to tell you not to do that.
It's a part 1 and 2 in class. They cover what happened, but haven't gotten to the part where there's a moral dilemma.
Apparently.
Oh, we could just sell the black students.
It's like...
Coming to school on Monday, no, that's bad.
Yeah. Sorry, we didn't get to the bad part.
You would think, I mean, if school isn't teaching anything else, obviously, the least they could do is turn their focus on to slavery bad.
Okay. Well, if they're not, so again, if they're not teaching it, right, did the students independently come up with the idea of a slave auction? You know what would be a good idea?
Hey, history repeats itself.
Hey, gang, right? They're all they're on recess. They're, around the Foursquare thing, right? Somebody's sitting on the bar and they're like, I got an idea.
A barbershop quartet. But here's what we're going to sing.
Palmer, who I think is the spokesperson for the school, posted, or maybe one of the parents, posted that the incident took place at J.S. Waters School, a K-8 school in Goldston, located about 50 miles southwest of Raleigh in North Carolina. According to this year's data, the 195-student school is 68% white, 12% black, 12% Hispanic, and 6% of two or more races. Students received a one-day suspension for the auction, but that no action had been taken yet about they made a video, apparently.
Well, what can you do about the video? Is 1 day enough? Like, does that seem reasonable?
I mean, okay, let's teach you a lesson about slavery bad by basically making you a slave for a day, right? When you're in detention, you basically have to do whatever the detention person
Well, if it's a
tells you to do.
suspension, though, you're not even
if it's
there.
out of school, yeah.
Well, I mean,
that's true.
Public school in general is kind of slavery, so...
It is. I always had this great relationship with out-of-school suspensions.
Okay.
Because it's a day off of school.
I know.
It seems that way.
Like, how may I earn more of these?
It's like, wait. I hate being here, so there's a way that I can do something bad, air quotes, and get to go home?
Where is this list of things that results in an out-of-school suspension?
Yeah, looks like I'm smoking cigarettes in the bathroom. Cool.
Graffiti on the wall? Why,
Yeah,
yes, I
sweet.
think I am an artist today.
Selling your classmates for $350.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what happened at the Foursquare thing where the kids sitting on the wall. They're like, we got to figure out how to get out of school next Tuesday. What can we do? That's not bad enough.
You know what? That's the only thing I could think of that would get the black kids to agree to this, right? Like,
Right.
well,
We're all going to get suspended.
Yeah, like
Yeah. Are you willing to do it? I'll take one for the team, Like,
awful.
they all wanted to get together and, like, play video games or something, And so they conspired. That's right. It's a conspiracy theory.
Ooh.
It is a theory of a conspiracy. Technically, a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it does beg the question: were the black kids in on it? If so, to what degree? If not, how did that one kid, right? It was like, well, this happens so often, we just thought it was normal, right?
I know, yeah.
No, it's slave auction Wednesday. Just that's what we do on Wednesdays.
Oh, God. It's a shame my child isn't safe at school, Palmer wrote Monday. Where is the staff when this is happening? Now when my son gets fed up, they will protect him the way they've protected this other child? And it's like, okay, well, get your kid out of public school, right? Take some responsibility. Like, all these parents who get worked up at the bad job that public school is doing with my children, like, they don't want to take any responsibility.
Also begs the question, how was this kid unsafe if it was just
playtime?
Yeah. Right? Like, was the sale valid in some form or fashion? Did he have to... You're doing my homework.
Richie Rich, no. It was not valid in any way, shape, or form.
Well, then how is it unsafe? That's what I'm saying.
603-283-6160. The only form of valid slavery is when it's voluntary.
If they're participating in the mock slave auction.
Which isn't really slavery. More Free Talk Live is coming up. It's the Sunday night edition.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the second full week of Russia's invasion of Ukraine ended with President Vladimir Putin authorizing the deployment of as many as 16,000 mercenaries from Syria and other parts of the Middle East to support Russian forces in Ukraine. The Russians again encountered substantial resistance in their efforts to control additional territory. But as the weekend began, there were fears that a military convoy stalled all week is preparing to attack the capital, Kiev. President Volodymyr Zelensky ended the week making an address to the nation and urging his people to remain strong.
We can't say how many more days we will need to take our land back, but we can do it because we want to do it. We already have strategic victory.
The week saw Russia advance baseless claims about U.S. chemical weapons facilities in Ukraine that the White House warned could be used as a pretext to launch a Russian chemical attack inside the country. President Biden warned any use of chemical weapons would elicit a U.S. response. The U.S. also said this week it supports war crimes investigations, particularly after the Russian bombing of a maternity hospital in the Black Sea port city of Mariupol. State Department spokesman Ned Price.
To every political leader sitting in Moscow, to every Russian commander on the ground in Ukraine, to every Russian service member on the ground right now, our message has been clear. If you take part, order, or party to such war crimes, such abuses, such atrocities, we will do everything we can to hold you accountable.
There was division within the Biden administration about a Polish plan to send MiG fighter jets to Ukraine. Initially, Secretary of State Antony Blinken green-lighted the idea, saying America would replace any fighter jets the Poles sent to Ukraine. But the Pentagon overruled him. The spokesman there, John Kirby.
The transfer of combat aircraft right now could be mistaken by Mr. Putin and the Russians as an escalatory step. We need to be careful about every decision we make.
Lots of additional sanctions were implemented against Russia. President Biden banned all imports of Russian oil. The UK said it would phase out the use of Russian oil by the end of the year. The EU pledged to cut its reliance on Russian energy by 2/3. And Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, was among 7 Russian oligarchs sanctioned this week by the British government. By the end of the week, the UN said more than 2.5 million people had fled Ukraine. In other developments, US inflation hit 7.9% in February, a 40-year high, and explorers found the almost intact wreckage of Endurance, the ship used by polar explorer Ernest Shackleton. It sank off the Antarctic in 1907. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. More on inflation now. It is front of mind for investors on Wall Street. They're also worried about the energy sector in light of price rises caused by the crisis in Ukraine. With the preview from FSN's business desk in New York, here's Will Denzelo.
US stocks have been on a wild ride in recent weeks as traders continue to assess the impact Russia's invasion on Ukraine and subsequent sanctions will have on the global economy. But the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting that wraps on Wednesday will also be of keen interest on Wall Street. Traders have priced in a 100% likelihood that the Fed will begin to raise interest rates in a bid to curb inflation that's up at 40-year highs. The only question for investors is how aggressively the central bank will act. Also out this week is retail sales data. Consumer spending is the biggest driver of the US economy, so this figure is always of keen interest for traders.
We learnt on Friday that the White House has held a briefing with 30 TikTok influencers about events in Ukraine. From FSN's bureau in Silicon Valley, Ara Spitzer with that story.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and other U.S. staffers briefed the TikTok influencers about issues including the U.S.'s strategic goals in the region and how Washington would react to the Russian use of nuclear weapons. With both pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian views widely circulating on the social media platform, the event was an indication of how much power the most popular TikTok personalities wield. The video sharing platform, which is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, is used by more than 1 billion people and is especially popular with younger users. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
In the coming week, we are braced to continue covering whatever happens in the Ukraine crisis from multiple datelines around the world, here and on leading broadcast TV and radio networks everywhere. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
Calling it the most effective means to reaching one's full earning potential, a new report issued by the Employee Benefit Research Institute this week found that violently slamming one's supervisor against a wall and shouting, "Cash, I need more cash," is still the leading tactic for securing a raise amongst American workers.
We found that employees have the most success negotiating their salaries when they stride confidently into their supervisor's office, manhandle them like a rag doll, and demand more money right now.
Experts confirmed that the majority of employees who managed to increase their salaries maintained direct eye contact with their supervisors while reiterating that they were not f***ing around, emphasizing their position with phrases such as, "Give me the money now," and "I said more cash, old man." The Onion sat down with Kevin Simmons, who recently applied these methods in negotiating a competitive bump in his annual salary.
So the other day I walked right into his office, grabbed his throat with my hand, and told him straight up, "Start paying me more f***ing money today." And I grabbed $100 out of his wallet and told him that was a good start.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live. Yeah. Greetings.
Okay, Metallica.
James Hetfield. Hey.
It's like Disturbed.
Whoa. Yo. Whoa. I wish I had a parody about, like a Metallica parody for, like, hosting a radio show or something like that.
You could.
That would be appropriate.
If you wanted to.
I'd have to.
He is a parody artist.
I am. That's a lot of thought. I have an unwritten Metallica parody that I need to get to, but I'm busy right now in my musical life writing brand new, original, heavy music.
I have an unwritten autobiography that I'll never get to.
I'm doing all of the instruments myself. I'm playing the guitar, I'm playing the bass, I'm doing the main lead vocal singing, I'm doing the backup vocal singing. There's some harmonizing going on, which I don't usually venture into, but I'm trying it out, giving it a shot, seeing what happens.
Way to keep all the profits to yourself.
I've been
no bandmate.
This song that I'm working on, I can't even really say that I wrote it. I said something on social media about that I grow songs. I don't really write them. They just sort of grow. This particular song, it's almost like it's been channeled through me. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it just sort of happened, and I couldn't stop it. And so I was like, well, I better get it out. And I got the main ideas down and, the concept for it and the main vocal parts and that kind of stuff. And so now I'm just sort of constructing the rest of it. Those of you who don't do music production, there's so much time and detail involved in doing something like this.
Have you ever considered paying someone on Fiverr to write the songs for you?
No.
Okay.
No. I would consider on Fiverr having people do things for me that, like, I won't do if I don't have another resource for it. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know, if I needed a particular, like, a female voice to pipe in, for like a call and react kind of a thing, or a duet or something like that, I might, hey, here's an MP3, can you sing vocals? Here's the lyrics, that kind of thing. I would employ somebody for that. Or if there's like, I want a ripping fast lead solo, and I can't do ripping fast lead solos, so I might, consider employing somebody for that. I have friends who are musicians, so generally speaking, if I need something like that, I have enough of a resource base to where they all have their own, like, home recording setups and whatnot, and they can bust something out for me, no problem.
It was more only having to spend $5 on song lyrics.
Yeah, I'm a pretty wordy guy.
Okay.
I like language. I like making up words. So, I'm a big fan of portmanteau and that kind of thing.
I was going to say there's a word for that.
Yeah. So I don't really have a problem writing lyrics. In fact, sometimes I'll busy up a song a little too much. Be like, I gotta trim the lyrical content back. How can I make my point with less words? or a change of phrase, that kind of stuff. So there's a whole bunch of refining and that kind of thing. All that to say, I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I'm really glad to be writing music again. I can't tell you how glad I am.
Nice.
Enough about me. Let's talk about you. Let's go to Jill in Virginia. Jill, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I've been hearing things on the radio and some kind of opinions about industrialists leasing federal land in order to drill.
Mm-hmm.
Why should they have to lease this? Who made it federal land?
The feds.
Did the federal government go out there and dig around that land and build fences around it, or what?
Yeah, don't you know, Jill, that without government, land wouldn't exist?
Oh, really?
I mean, no, I'm kidding.
Did government exist first? Did it afterwards land?
They may have fenced it off,
land?
though.
I know exactly what you're saying, Jill, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I have made the point many times, and there's been some memes about it on the internet and that kind of thing. Like, 100% of planet Earth has been claimed by some form of government.
Right.
Right. So if government charges you, forcibly, by the way, in the form of taxation, to live on planet Earth, who did government buy the Earth from?
Aliens.
They claimed it, and they've defended that claim with violence.
Jill?
I have thought that the American Indians, that they actually, that from what I've read, they never put fences up to say this is my yard and that's in my neighbor's yard.
Well, there's your problem right there.
Around. They
got to put
wandering
fences
around.
up.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I certainly respect the philosophy that the Native Americans had regarding planet Earth, that nobody owns planet Earth. You can own stuff, right? That's my bow and arrow, right? I made it. It's mine. I mixed my labor with part of, now, but they didn't own the Earth. They were merely, existing upon it like all of the other creatures. There were no borders. Nobody needed a passport.
If you build a fence, that's one thing.
So you make a distinction, Captain, between property and possessions.
One season and wandering away and then wandering back in another season, I don't think that means you own it.
Yeah, definitely not. And I think, as far as like property goes, I think it would make sense if someone like builds a house and it's like, okay, like, this is my portion of land.
Okay.
To me, like as far as private property goes, like that makes sense. But
so if you build a house and plant a field.
Yeah, like I would think that would make sense, but for the governments being like, well, this is the USA and this is Canada, and if you're here, you have to follow these rules. Like, if I'm in New Hampshire, I can have a gun, but if I'm in Massachusetts, I can't unless I jump through all these hoops. Just because I cross like 5 feet across an imaginary line, that doesn't make sense.
I can understand state political borders, but I can't very well go along with the land saying the government owns this land when it hasn't cultivated it and it didn't make it.
Well, what's
but
the difference?
Land belongs to individuals.
Well, what's the difference, though?
Somebody put up a fence, you see. Somebody put up a fence or made some sign of possession.
Yeah. The most offensive sign I've seen is like government property, no trespassing. I really hate that thing.
Yeah, there is certainly a misnomer with the language when it comes to government. Public property doesn't mean it belongs to everybody. It means it belongs to the government.
Right.
So if you just substitute...
But they will claim that it belongs to everybody.
Well, yeah, of course they will. To make you feel good and get reelected.
They're a reward for the
Well,
people.
The taxpayers paid for the blocks that built the building. I can understand that after the building's built. I can understand that to some extent.
Yeah.
Because it's other taxpayers besides you if you walk onto it.
But now the claim from governments, particularly with government land, right, where they have laws, you can't build on government land.
We're
stuff
preserving
like that.
it.
Yeah, is to keep people from doing whatever the heck they want with that land. We're keeping it safe. We're keeping it natural. We're preserving the land because we can, and we have more guns and say so.
I think they're hiding something.
Like missile silos.
Why else would they rope
aliens.
off 500,000 acres of land?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Jill.
I think they're hiding some hypocrisy.
That too.
Yeah, they certainly are. Hey, Jill, thanks for the call. A pleasure as Always.
So when I got all stuttery and I was trying to not interrupt Jill, I was going to say that...
You're what? You're what?
So I was getting all stuttery.
Stuttery?
So anyways, I was going to say that
it's 'cause she's
I
making
was going to
moonshine.
make the point of international water. Wouldn't that kind of be a place where no government or anyone has claimed?
Yeah, that's where the concept of seasteading comes from, because there are certain areas of the oceans or seas, mostly ocean, where there are no recognized government boundaries. And so the idea was, let's get a bunch of free people in boats together and tie up to each other or build some sort of a thing, some sort of a weird island that we can all connect to.
And Ernie Hancock from Freedom Phoenix wants to go vertical instead into space with the airships.
A sky city.
Well, because the governments only recognize airspace above them to a certain level.
Right.
And anything beyond that is just unclaimed. So if you could get a floating sky ship up there, then you have your own freedom, like a mile up in the air or whatever. Whatever it happens to be, 60 miles up. I don't remember.
The Ethics of Anarcho-Capitalism, in that book by Christopher Bohr, they discuss something similar where they do like a capitalist, man-made island where it's just, you just follow the non-aggression principle, and that's kind of the law.
Would be nice. Sadly, I think nothing like that will happen until mankind can efficiently and repeatedly get off planet Earth. 603-283-6160.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Brute force, intransigent defiance, adamantine will. These are the hallmarks of the AI tank. These gigantic machines have the firepower of an army, but they also have their own sense of honor and duty. When the world breakers arrive, battle will be joined, planets will shake, and war and peace will never be the same again. World Breakers. Stories from David Weber, Larry Correia, and more. Available August 3rd from BaneBooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
If you're looking for work, there's a piece of paper more important than your resume. It's the cover letter attached if you're snail mailing, or the email to which you attach your resume. Make it 4 short paragraphs. Paragraph 1, say that you're applying for work. The person you're sending to gets a ton of mail about all sorts of things. If you have a password, that's your first sentence. Tom Nelson tells me you and I should meet. Paragraph 2, what you do and how that relates to the opening. Be as specific as possible. Paragraph 3, why you want this particular job. I'm originally from Boston, so I know the market well. I have family and friends in the area, so this would be a homecoming for me. Paragraph 4, unless the job posting stipulates no calls, and I will call you to follow up. Thank you in advance for your time. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. Sunday. We'll sell you the seats. Actually, we don't sell you anything. It's free to listen as long as you have an internet connection or you're listening on satellite or over the air, because we are a nationally syndicated radio broadcast, not television, radio.
We won't sell you the seat, but we will sell you Mark Edge in a mock host auction.
Now, wait a minute. Are we just pretending here?
I said mock. Or? It's a mock host auction. How much can I get for a Mark Edge?
Mark Edge, if you're out there, that might be your cue. I'm not sure. Richie Rich wants to sell you at an auction here on Free Talk Live.
Hey, might get a pretty penny for him.
Would I get it? Would I keep the money? Like, what would they get? Because obviously he's not going to do anything with it. But
you'd have to make.
Well, that's why they call it slavery, right?
I would hope you had some sort of voluntary agreement with Mark to participate in some sort of publicity stunt that's on the radio program, that kind of a thing.
I have not talked to him about it, but I was just riffing off your only selling the edge joke. Yeah. Usually you finish we'll sell you the seat, but you only need the edge. Yeah. And I was trying to tie that two in together. Yeah, Mark Edge. Saw you, Mark Edge.
Well done. Yeah. 603-283-6160.
He doesn't even know. He's already been sold 3 or 4 times.
He's on the secondary market. Yeah. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
What are we going to talk about now? Oh, I know. I remember. Hang on. It's right over here. Nope, that's not it.
Uh-oh.
Although that's pretty good. Let's just go
Do it. You clicked it. You got to do it now.
We'll just do it. Man doesn't know why he got pulled over by police. Realizes his grandmother with dementia wrote a help sign.
No, oh my God, that's great.
Man doesn't know why he got pulled over by police, but realizes his grandmother with dementia wrote a help sign. I just had to say that twice in case you needed to hear it twice, because it's a bit of a headline.
The problem is the entire article is basically in the headline. Like, that's the funny bit right there.
That's it. So we're done.
I mean, you could be done. I mean, you could tell the story if you wanted to, but
I don't know the story. This is your story. Do you want to tell the story?
I don't have it pulled up, but you can read it. But all the funny bits are in that. The rest of it's kind of set. What? No? Okay. No, there's more funny bits.
Oh, the producer says?
The producer says there's more funny bits. All right, go for it.
Producer says, tonight on Producer Says, S-E-Z, not S-A-Y-S. This from cheeseburger.com.
Sounds legit.
A well-respected news site.
I mean, nowadays,
cheeseburger. Remember that, Cat?
I do. Alzheimer dementia is a heartbreaking diagnosis that is extremely difficult for families. Watching your loved one slowly disappear in front of your eyes is one of the most difficult things a person can endure. I've seen this
now
firsthand.
I'm just sad.
I've seen this firsthand.
Okay.
One of my grandmothers certainly. I saw her put something down, and somebody goes, "Hey, can you hand me the thing?" She's like, "What thing?" Like immediately, it was gone.
Yep.
I'm like, whoa, that's weird. Anyway, however, as with many serious situations, sometimes there are moments where you just have to laugh. That moment happened with TikTok Mario Calderon one day while he was driving his grandmother to his mother's house, who suffers from Alzheimer's and dementia.
The grandmother does, not the mother.
Right. Okay. Or the guy driving.
Right. Maybe.
Hopefully.
I don't know why I got pulled over by the cops.
We'll see what happens as they age, of course, but we'll have a crack team of Free Talk Live researchers monitor the situation to see.
We're gonna stay on this story.
Yeah.
It's a long-term project.
Yeah. So in 10 years, we'll check back with you.
Subscribing to his TikTok right now.
One day, this guy was, what's his name?
Mario.
Mario, yeah. He was bringing his grandmother to his mother's house, who only lived about 30 or 40 minutes away. As he's driving on the highway, cars passing him are honking, flicking him off. I don't know what a flick off is, but I know what a flip off is.
It's because you're from the West Coast. Flip off is an
I'm
East
from
Coast
Wisconsin.
thing. Oh.
So what's that?
I don't know.
Flick and flip?
It's a Canadian goose, eh?
Yeah. Anyway, they're giving him the bird and cutting him off, and he doesn't understand why. I thought, why are all the douchebags out today? He says in the video, and he looks confused in the image they captured here, as he has thought he sees in the rearview mirror that state trooper is pulling him over.
It's not for TikToking and driving.
Right? Yeah.
Well, if you have your phone mounted on the dash cam, then you just
I
you
guess
do what
so.
you want.
The TikToker has an irrational fear that he has a warrant out for something he didn't realize, and he didn't. Wait, this is a weird sentence. Anyway, he instantly had a dreadful thought. The trooper says from his car speaker for him to put his hands out the window, open the door, and walk backwards towards his trunk. Once he gets to the trunk, another trooper went to the passenger side, tapped on the window to get the attention of the grandmother. That's when he realized she had handwritten, a sign that read, "Help." He was not only in shock by that, after a few taps on the window from police, it turns out she was also now pretending to be dead.
Oh, my God.
She must not have liked this guy.
She's got dementia. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah, this is typical shenanigans.
Or this is an old person, like, just having some fun.
Just pretending to have dementia?
Yeah. I think
when
that
I get to that
sometimes,
age, I'm going to do crap like that.
What's your name again, Sonny?
I've
George?
worked with a lot of people with dementia, and sometimes some of the stuff they do is so ridiculous. I'm like, are you pranking me?
Yeah.
Like, are you serious right now? Like, is this a joke?
When I get that old, I'm going to be that guy.
I totally want to be that guy.
There
too.
will be periods when, like, I'm totally, suffering from dementia, Alzheimer's, and I'm doing weird things. But there's going to be periods where I'm totally of my wits and, coherent or whatever, and I'm going to F with people is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can. Why wouldn't I?
Shake a stick at people. Get off my lawn.
All that kind of thing.
Yep.
Might as well.
The second cop went to the driver's side. She was still playing dead. After a bit, she lifted her head and started to giggle. See, she's effing with these people. I had to call my mom on speaker and explain my Graham's Alzheimer's dementia. No one knows why she did it, but she was so tickled. The cops understood, and after some more explaining, they let us go. They said I needed to monitor her better, but no charges. And obviously, this guy didn't have a warrant, or at least it didn't come up when because otherwise, they'd have thrown him in the cage.
That would have really messed with him if he was like had a warrant for something like an unpaid parking ticket,
and Grandma's just trying to F with him,
or if he didn't, if he rented from Hertz and didn't return his car on time, all of a sudden, like, you're going to jail, son. Grandma's like, now he's going to take me to my daughter's house.
Yeah, this is not car rental advice, but if you ever rent a car from anybody, if that company happens to be HERTZ, Hertz, you've been warned. You've been warned. Because that's what their fees do. They hurt.
Okay.
Yes. It's in the name. They were not hiding it.
Okay.
Right? They changed the spelling a little bit so that you'd go, it's okay. So that's spelled HURTZ, right? Yeah.
They also call in stolen car reports on their paying customers. So that's a thing. I think it was Hertz. Was it Hertz? Yeah, it's Hertz.
Yeah.
So if you're going to rent from a car company, like, probably not that one for other reasons as well, not just because the name sounds funny. Because you could actually have a felony, arrest warrant out for you.
The grandmother found the entire situation hilarious and laughed it off. I guess when you're that old, you have to entertain yourself somehow.
Yep.
Or you could move to New Hampshire and be on a radio show. Hang out with you guys.
Yep.
That's right. 603-283-6160. Would you F with people when you are elderly.
Free Talk Live.
One of the counselor's excuses for her behavior after call accused her of engaging in stealing. This is stealing. You're taking something from somebody who believed they owned something, and by all evidence did own something. You're taking it from them. And as you say, Mark, this goes on all across the country. They're called tax sales or tax deeds. Whenever people drop back in not being able to pay property taxes, in this case, it's because of the down economy. These people are having a tough time. At one point, she got very frustrated, and she said, well, it's not stealing because it's the law. So apparently when the law says you can take something that's not yours, it's not stealing. And now all the law is, as you pointed out, and you talk about the Constitution that's supposed to be the highest law of the land, the law is just words on paper written down by men and women. Some of them signed their names to it, but most of us, in fact 99.999% of us, never signed anything in regards to their laws.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the second full week of Russia's invasion of Ukraine ended with President Vladimir Putin authorizing the deployment of as many as 16,000 mercenaries from Syria and other parts of the Middle East to support Russian forces in Ukraine. The Russians again encountered substantial resistance in their efforts to control additional territory. But as the weekend began, there were fears that a military convoy stalled all week is preparing to attack the capital, Kiev. President Volodymyr Zelensky ended the week making an address to the nation and urging his people to remain strong.
We can't say how many more days we will need to take our land back, but we can do it because we want to do it. We already have strategic victory.
The week saw Russia advance baseless claims about U.S. chemical weapons facilities in Ukraine that the White House warned could be used as a pretext to launch a Russian chemical attack inside the country. President Biden warned any use of chemical weapons would elicit a U.S. response. The U.S. also said this week it supports war crimes investigations, particularly after the Russian bombing of a maternity hospital in the Black Sea port city of Mariupol. State Department spokesman Ned Price.
To every political leader sitting in Moscow, to every Russian commander on the ground in Ukraine, to every Russian service member on the ground right now, our message has been clear. If you take part, order, or party to such war crimes, such abuses, such atrocities, we will do everything we can to hold you accountable.
There was division within the Biden administration about a Polish plan to send MiG fighter jets to Ukraine. Initially, Secretary of State Antony Blinken green-lighted the idea, saying America would replace any fighter jets the Poles sent to Ukraine. But the Pentagon overruled him. The spokesman there, John Kirby.
The transfer of combat aircraft right now could be mistaken by Mr. Putin and the Russians as an escalatory step. We need to be careful about every decision we make.
Lots of additional sanctions were implemented against Russia. President Biden banned all imports of Russian oil. The UK said it would phase out the use of Russian oil by the end of the year. The EU pledged to cut its reliance on Russian energy by 2/3. And Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, was among 7 Russian oligarchs sanctioned this week by the British government. By the end of the week, the UN said more than 2.5 million people had fled Ukraine. In other developments, US inflation hit 7.9% in February, a 40-year high, and explorers found the almost intact wreckage of Endurance, the ship used by polar explorer Ernest Shackleton. It sank off the Antarctic in 1907. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
Wait for it. Okay, there it is. Oh, I was late. Oops.
You tried.
Let the beat drop.
Bad
Let
timing.
the beat drop.
And that's how they cleared up the STD breakout at the old folks' home. Oh, the
Just
microphone's
wait it out.
on. Oh, my bad. This is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160.
When the host dies. The disease dies
Dude,
with
come
it.
on, I'm right here.
No,
You
at the
talking
old
about
folks'
the
home.
host
The
dying?
host of the disease.
You weren't supposed to tell him.
Don't.
Oh, was that into the microphone? Oh, sorry.
Are you pretending to be stuttering Nikki again?
I am. Yes, Nikki, I know we've told you we have to tell the rest of everybody. We've changed your name from Nikki Sunshine to Nikki Moonshine.
And we're not doing the diaper story. End of story.
Come on.
But I think for those of you watching over at video.freetalklive.com, you should look at Nikki's water glass. It is an old school jar. It's the large variety.
It says Mason right on there. It's probably a Mason jar.
Yep. It's a knockoff Mason jar.
Definitely a Mason style jar.
That style.
It does appear that she's drinking moonshine. I assure you that she is not. At
Maybe.
Least.
Wait.
Maybe not.
Hang on. Let me.
You smell it? You're sniffing it?
I'm just going to steal it from her. She doesn't know. Nope, not moonshine.
All right, Joe Biden.
Wasn't sniffing the girl, sniffing the moonshine.
Okay. All right.
Or the water, I guess, whatever that is. It could be vodka. Vodka doesn't smell it. I'd smell it if it was vodka.
Better not be vodka.
I've got a pretty good schnoz for booze.
Whose side are you on?
No
one's. Doing? Oh, we're doing a radio show. 603-283-61.
Unbeknownst to the audience.
60 is the number in the studio. It's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
I believe it's
Nikki Moonshine.
Thank you. I feel much better.
I'm only Nikki Moonshine after like 6 p.m.
So say you're just going to let him change your name like that? You a slave or something?
I do what I want.
I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Your name might be Richie Rich, but I'm going to call you Sylvester.
I will not answer to Sylvester.
I don't know where Sylvester came from either.
I thought I taught a putty tat.
Are we supposed to be talking about something?
I did tea a putty tat.
Oh, we talked about the grandmother already.
Grannies.
Yeah. I thought I taught a putty tat. Yeah, right. The core traits of famous psychopaths.
Dun, dun, dun.
So does this describe all politicians?
Probably.
It might be in there.
This is from thedailymail.co.uk. What does that mean? What's .co.uk?
That's for the United Kingdom.
Why is it .co? Why isn't it just .uk?
Country.United Kingdom. I don't know.
That's weird.
It's just what it is, man.
Yeah, all right.
Why is it LRN.FM? We're anywhere near whatever country FM.
Frequency modulation, man.
But that's not what the domain means.
For a radio show.
I get it. But it's a country code.
Although we are on some AM stations too, so it's not. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyways,
I didn't make that up. This from dailymail.co.uk. The core traits of psychopaths. Scientists identify 5 key characteristics in Ted Bundy, Clyde Barrow, and Bernie Madoff, including callousness, dishonesty, and cruelty.
Huh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I wonder where I've seen those traits before.
Movies. Television shows,
politicians, governments, agents of governments, basically anybody employed by government really at some point has to exhibit those things because that's the nature of what government does.
Even at the lowest level of elected positions.
Yeah. I mean, even like the DMV or whatever, man, you get to a point and somebody goes, well, why is it done that way? Wouldn't it be better? And they go, hey, look. That's not the way, and like they become callous or cruel or they make some crap up because they don't know the answer and don't want to seem like they're the dumbass they really are, in which case that's dishonesty. Academics have compiled the personality traits shared by famous psychopaths. Psychopaths are callous, manipulative, dishonest, arrogant, and cruel. But other men who have been called psychopaths, including James Bond and Sherlock Holmes, may just be bold and fearless. Well, wasn't James Bond not a real guy?
Yeah, I didn't think he was.
Character like
Sherlock Holmes as well.
Yeah, I think
Sherlock Holmes based on a guy.
Maybe,
I know
but
it was
I think
fiction. But I thought
Sherlock Holmes himself, like the name, I thought was fiction.
Yeah, if you're related to Sherlock Holmes, give us a call 603-283-6160.
Katie Holmes.
And when you do call, I'll be like, "Sup, Holmes?" But
you just ruin the surprise.
Yeah, I guess I did.
Anyways.
Yeah. Well, so scientists have identified the 5 key personality traits that are common among famous psychopaths. Oh, so these aren't common amongst the less famous or not famous at all psychopaths?
I think they use the famous ones as a baseline to find out what the core characteristics were, of which they can then use to diagnose other people who share these but haven't gotten to that level of fame yet.
The U.S. academics looked for shared traits in 6 men: Ted Bundy, Bernie Madoff, Clyde Barrow, James Bond, Sherlock Holmes, and Chuck Yeager. So that's 4 men and 2 fictitious characters.
Who could be played by a woman, you never know.
Who have previously been identified as psychopathic. They found that Bundy, Madoff, and Barrow are all psychopaths guilty of callousness, manipulativeness, dishonesty, arrogance, and cruelty. However, Bond, Holmes, and Yeager are likely not psychopaths and may have been misidentified in the past due to their fearlessness and boldness, experts say. So they're showing.
Fifth grade teacher used to call me bold and belligerent.
They're showing pictures here. I guess those are just of the real dudes. I was like, why not? Give us a spot-on pic of James Bond while you're at it. The research was conducted by Christina Krigo at Longwood University in Farmville, Virginia, and Thomas Whittiger at the University of Kentucky. There remains considerable debate as to what the core traits are of psychopathy, they say in their paper. One approach to addressing this question is to identify the traits that are present in persons said to be actual or even prototypic examples of psychopathy. According to the team, Ted Bundy, Clyde Barrow, Bernie Madoff, pilot Chuck Yeager, and 2 fictional men, they admit that they're fictional now, James Bond, Sherlock Holmes, all have previously been described as psychopaths. Ted Bundy was a serial killer, rapist, and necrophile who assaulted and murdered numerous young women during the 1970s, while Madoff is one of the best-known snakes in suits, implementing what many consider to be the largest Ponzi scheme and financial fraud in the U.S.
Aside from Social Security.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just have to correct the author of this article here. They're saying that the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme is considered to be the largest Ponzi scheme and financial fraud in U.S. history. That is not true. The United States dollar and the Federal Reserve banking system, central banking, Federal Reserve, USD, largest Ponzi scheme and financial fraud in U.S. history. I just want to point that out. So Bernie Madoff probably isn't even number 2 on that list. He's probably in the top 5, I'm guessing. Top 10 at least.
Social Security, Charles Ponzi.
Yeah. Well, USD, right? Federal Reserve banking, right? Then Social Security, right? Then, I don't know, something else, some other currency somewhere, I'm sure, right? And then maybe Madoff, right? He's probably in the top 5, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
I mean, they didn't name the scheme after him, so they're like, you got to give credit to the originator somewhere.
That's true. As for Barrow, he committed over 100 robberies, many implemented in a rash and impulsive manner with his partner, Bonnie Parker. He ruthlessly murdered policemen, prison guards, and fellow inmates, along with law-abiding citizens, the authors say. He was, though, said to be charming and engaging, and at the time was considered a folk hero within some newspapers and within multiple subsequent Hollywood movies. For the study, the team prepared case histories for each of the 6 men, spanning 3 to 5 pages long. That's a lot. I don't like.
It's like a 5th grade book report, man. 3 to 5 pages.
But on each one,
is that hard?
I don't want that assignment.
They write entire books about these people.
Well, is it double spaced or
That's true. Yeah, double.
What's the font? Yeah.
Times New Roman 12.
I'm just gonna pay somebody on Fiverr to make it for me anyway. So 603-283-6160. What are the signs of psychopaths?
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the telephone number here in the studio. We got some calls to get to momentarily. In the studio, it's myself, the captain,
Nikki Moonshine,
and Richie Rich.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information, neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this important and world-changing information. If you're already a knowledgeable crypto user, you can check out news.bitcoin.com and get the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a very slick and easy-to-use website. Visit bitcoin.com.
There you go. Use that instead of the exchanges, as discussed earlier.
Please do, yeah, and figure it out. Really, I mean, put some effort into it. People are like, oh, I don't understand crypto. Well, what have you done to learn anything about it so far?
I'm asking you, Captain.
Well, nothing. It's like, well, go to bitcoin.com, click on Get Started. There's and then I had a guy who did that, and he took my advice. He went to Bitcoin, and he watched the first video, right? And he goes, well, okay, I watched that, but what about this? What about that? What about like 3 or 4 or 5 other? I'm like, Well, watch the next freaking video, dude.
This 3-minute long video didn't tell me every single question I have about cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I expected to be an expert in crypto in 3 minutes. Well, your expectations need to be lowered a lot, pal. Put some effort into it, That's all I'm saying.
Here's the white paper instead.
Let's go to Major Payne in Michigan. Major, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, that guy probably only eats out of a microwave oven, too. He wants his hot dog in a minute as well.
I love hot dogs.
I hate hot dogs.
All right, Nikki, I seems to me you got to be missing at least one front tooth to be Nikki Moonshine. And seeing as how you shine at night, I hereby christen you Nikki Moonbeam.
Okay, I accept that. Thank you.
That I also accept that.
All right.
So now you've had your name changed twice by men.
Oh.
Well, it's probably a man that gave it to her in the first place. At least the last one. That's the way it goes.
Wait. I just need to make sure, is Nikki Moonbeam a vegan name? Like, is it? I gotta make sure. I gotta make sure it's certified.
Kosher, whatever.
Did somebody put their stamp on? Okay.
Vegan and kosher are the same thing all of a sudden.
She says it's good. What else, Major?
Kosher, vegan, organic.
As far as what you guys were just talking about criminal tendencies amongst mastermind maniacs,
psychopaths.
Psychopaths. I'm wondering why Hannibal Lecter and Ted Bundy didn't make the list, seeing as how they were both cannibals. I mean, it seems to me that would have been top tier.
Yeah. Do you think psychopathy is necessary for cannibalism?
Well, I don't know. It's probably necessary plus one beyond.
Okay, so maybe we need to rehash the story that I brought in several weeks ago about creating your own cannibal meat from your own cells and whether that's cannibalism to eat it.
And what about the what was the story? The plane that went down and then they got hungry and they had
in the Andes or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember the plane. But they ate each other to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the Dahmer party too. I mean, there's extenuating circumstances all throughout history. Shipwrecks and such.
Right.
But just a little, I want to give you guys a little thing that I seen on PBS about 20 years ago, back when they actually told the truth.
Okay.
It was a survey on people and if they had common sense or not. And I don't know if it was 1,000 people or 10,000 people or whatever they surveyed, but they asked them, do you think you have common sense? And 7 out of 10 says yes. Well, then they gave them a paper test to see if they actually possessed what they thought they possessed. 3 of the 7 passed.
Not surprised.
So the moral of the story is be very, very aware and afraid because 7 out of 10 people are blithering idiots.
Hey, Major, thanks for the call.
Is there a Dunning-Kruger
awesome
comment to be made in there somewhere?
There probably is. Let's continue on. Let's go to Bad Slave calling from New Hampshire. Bad Slave, you're on Free Talk Live.
And glad to be here. Thank you very much.
It's on your mind.
Captain, listen, the idea of psychopaths, do people generally assume negative outcomes?
With psychopaths?
I would say so.
Yeah, is there such a thing as a positive psychopath? Like one who brings the good and I don't... Could you be...
Well, is that there's a doctor that wrote a book who had himself tested and came out being psychopathic.
Huh.
And yet, it's a decision for even psychopaths and sociopaths and, whatever your mental malady, to choose to be good, I think.
Like, I have referred to people who are zealous, perhaps even overzealous, about a particular thing. Super fans of, a TV show, or people who are way too, in my opinion, way too into a certain comic book or stuff like that. Like, man, that guy is like a psychopath with that stuff. I have made that comment about, a friend of mine or other people. They are like a psychopath with that stuff. But I say like a psychopath, right? Because I don't really think they're psychopaths, but who knows?
So I pulled up real quick the not definition, but the characteristics of a psychopath. So we can read some off and see what we think after this.
There was also 5 in the article we were reading. But continue.
This one's a little bit different. Disregarding or violating the rights of others, inability to distinguish between right and wrong, difficulty with showing remorse or empathy, tendency to lie often, manipulating and hurting others, and general disregard towards safety and responsibility. So I'm thinking after reading that list whether somebody could be a psychopath and still be a good person.
So there's a lot of deviant behavior in the world that people have voluntarily under control. So if you exhibit psychopathic behaviors or thoughts or tendencies but never act on them,
yeah,
right, then you could be diagnosed psychopathic but not be a danger to society.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's different levels of that as well. Like, I had a very good friend who was a nice, kind person, but he was diagnosed as a sociopath. And, I understand that's different. It's more like the inability to, feel emotions. But he was diagnosed as a low-level sociopath, and he was a nice, caring person, helped other people, and would never do anything to hurt anybody. So I would think.
Well, okay. So the problem with that, briefly, is that's one of the things that sociopaths do to integrate, right? They pretend to be those things, but they're not really. They use that as a mechanism to integrate into society.
And at the very least, he would say blatantly, I can't love someone. So it gets hard for him to date because he's honest with people. He's like, I can't ever love you. I just don't feel that emotion. I just can't.
Wow. But so he can pretend it.
But he pretended, and he tried his best to integrate in with society. He's very low level, so I'm thinking he's not a bad person. I don't think you're a bad person until you do something bad, even if you might have bad thoughts.
Bad slave. Do you suppose psychopaths are aware of their psychopathy? Bad slave.
Well, I the smart ones are.
Okay.
Yeah. I would generally answer yes to that as well.
I guess my whole kind of line of questioning here is, aren't all humans capable of said bad behavior?
Capable, yes.
Yeah.
In some form or fashion. But again, whether or not they act on it is where the moral question is wrong.
But some of the things inability to feel empathy, there's certain things if you see someone going through something terrible and you're empathizing with them, that's things that you can't really control. That's not a chosen behavior. That's a feeling or sense or emotion.
What?
Yes, we know.
What do people say? Fake it until you make it. I mean, what if the psychopath or the sociopath just said, this is the way I'm going to be. And then just, maybe after a while they make it, because there's a habit. And somebody told me it takes 19 days of you doing the same thing to create a habit.
Yep.
These people can create good habits.
Hey, thanks for the call, Bad Slave. We appreciate it.
And we're glad they do, because then we don't have to put them down for acting like a psychopath.
Don't underestimate people, by the way, because people are capable of changing into the most wonderful creatures, but also into the most evil. Keep your eye on those bastards. That's all I'm saying. 603-283-6160. Hour number 3 of Free Talk Live is coming up.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks with the Week in Review. And the second full week of Russia's invasion of Ukraine ended with President Vladimir Putin authorizing the deployment of as many as 16,000 mercenaries from Syria and other parts of the Middle East to support Russian forces in Ukraine. The Russians again encountered substantial resistance in their efforts to control additional territory. But as the weekend began, there were fears that a military convoy stalled all week is preparing to attack the capital, Kiev. President Volodymyr Zelensky ended the week making an address to the nation and urging his people to remain strong.
We can't say how many more days we will need to take our land back, but we can do it because we want to do it. We already have strategic victory.
The week saw Russia advance baseless claims about U.S. chemical weapons facilities in Ukraine that the White House warned could be used as a pretext to launch a Russian chemical attack inside the country. President Biden warned any use of chemical weapons would elicit a U.S. response. The U.S. also said this week it supports war crimes investigations, particularly after the Russian bombing of a maternity hospital in the Black Sea port city of Mariupol. State Department spokesman Ned Price.
To every political leader sitting in Moscow, to every Russian commander on the ground in Ukraine, to every Russian service member on the ground right now, our message has been clear. If you take part, order, or party to such war crimes, such abuses, such atrocities, we will do everything we can to hold you accountable.
There was division within the Biden administration about a Polish plan to send MiG fighter jets to Ukraine. Initially, Secretary of State Antony Blinken green-lighted the idea, saying America would replace any fighter jets the Poles sent to Ukraine. But the Pentagon overruled him. The spokesman there, John Kirby.
The transfer of combat aircraft right now could be mistaken by Mr. Putin and the Russians as an escalatory step. We need to be careful about every decision we make.
Lots of additional sanctions were implemented against Russia. President Biden banned all imports of Russian oil. The UK said it would phase out the use of Russian oil by the end of the year. The EU pledged to cut its reliance on Russian energy by 2/3. And Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea Football Club, was among 7 Russian oligarchs sanctioned this week by the British government. By the end of the week, the UN said more than 2.5 million people had fled Ukraine. In other developments, US inflation hit 7.9% in February, a 40-year high, and explorers found the almost intact wreckage of Endurance, the ship used by polar explorer Ernest Shackleton. It sank off the Antarctic in 1907. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. More on inflation now. It is front of mind for investors on Wall Street. They're also worried about the energy sector in light of price rises caused by the crisis in Ukraine. With the preview from FSN's business desk in New York, here's Will Denzelo.
US stocks have been on a wild ride in recent weeks as traders continue to assess the impact Russia's invasion on Ukraine and subsequent sanctions will have on the global economy. But the Federal Reserve's two-day meeting that wraps on Wednesday will also be of keen interest on Wall Street. Traders have priced in a 100% likelihood that the Fed will begin to raise interest rates in a bid to curb inflation that's up at 40-year highs. The only question for investors is how aggressively the central bank will act. Also out this week is retail sales data. Consumer spending is the biggest driver of the US economy, so this figure is always of keen interest for traders.
We learnt on Friday that the White House has held a briefing with 30 TikTok influencers about events in Ukraine. From FSN's bureau in Silicon Valley, Ara Spitzer with that story.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and other U.S. staffers briefed the TikTok influencers about issues including the U.S.'s strategic goals in the region and how Washington would react to the Russian use of nuclear weapons. With both pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian views widely circulating on the social media platform, the event was an indication of how much power the most popular TikTok personalities wield. The video sharing platform, which is owned by the Chinese company ByteDance, is used by more than 1 billion people and is especially popular with younger users. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
In the coming week, we are braced to continue covering whatever happens in the Ukraine crisis from multiple datelines around the world, here and on leading broadcast TV and radio networks everywhere. And that is the Week in Review from Feature Story News. Simon Marks reporting.
An update now on a legal battle emerging around the Onion News Network's own Jode Kressbeckler. After the shocking story yesterday that a group of assailants attacked Congressman William Cummings, tied him to a horse and dragged him through a briar patch, some are now saying these statements from Mr. Kressbeckler last week may have incited the attack.
Bootlegging Congressman Cummings ought to be tied to a horse and dragged through a briar patch.
Mr. Kressbeckler's show is billed as an opinion and entertainment program.
Yes,
and he even calls himself nothing but a caterwauling old badger, so the claim that he would incite people to violence seems pretty far-fetched.
He displayed a map of Congressman Cummings' home in relation to the nearest briar patch, told his viewers where to purchase a, quote, good pulling horse, and used a life-size dummy of Congressman Cummings to demonstrate effective knot-tying techniques.
Right. I think most reasonable people would see that as simply a ribald political satire.
Right.
Briar patch is obviously a metaphor for the prickly political atmosphere in Washington, and drag from a horse means something else.
Makes sense to me.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Do you really have two first names?
It's Rich and Rich. Like, that is it. First name, last name.
Yeah.
Middle initial E.
That's like being named Bob Robert.
Sure. Bob Robertson.
Or Jim James.
Jimmy Johnson?
No, that's the first name and the last name.
Oh.
Yeah, my whole bit was the phrase, never trust a man with two first names. And then, I don't know, there's like Pete Carroll, the head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, right?
Okay.
That's two first names. Don't trust that guy.
Okay.
Right. For a while, when I lived in Seattle, like a whole bunch of people on the Seattle Seahawks NFL football team had two first names, and I'd totally rib all of the locals who were into the Seahawks football team. I'd be like, you can't trust any of these bastards because Russell Wilson, right? He's two first names. He's the quarterback.
What makes a last name a first name? A first name, a last name.
Well, so if we look to history for the answer to this question, we will find that last names originated as what you did, right?
Oh.
Shoemaker,
Oh, yeah.
Goldsmith, stuff
Dickinson.
like that. I don't know about that one. Emily? Really? But from there, it just sort of became, like Johnson is the guy over there, John, that's his son.
Okay.
But his name's Bill.
Okay.
And it's not John, so it's like Bill, John's son, and that became Bill Johnson.
Okay.
That's how that one became. So,
but there's also a Free Talk Live host or former host named Johnson as a first name.
I thought he was just like the mononym, like Madonna.
Okay.
He was just Johnson.
No, he has a last name.
That's not his last name?
No.
Oh, his first name is a last name.
Right.
Wow. I guess
his name is my name too.
That's John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. I believe there's a hyphen there, so somewhere out there is a Mrs. Jingleheimer or Mr. Jingleheimer and married somebody named Schmidt, and so I can only imagine. I still have this question. It's never been answered. If you're out there listening and you were born with a hyphenated last name, In other words, your mom and your dad got married, and they decided to combine their two last names together with a hyphen,
just to screw with you.
And that was your last name. And then you grew up, and you got married to somebody that also had a hyphenated last name. What did you do with your names when you got married? Do you now have
triple
4?
hyphens?
Do you have 4 words and all hyphens? Did you just take a couple of the names and combine them together with one hyphen?
You know what they should do? I have a little bit of advice for this problem, for this dilemma. Just make up a new last name.
Maybe take the first, 2 letters or whatever, a syllable of each of the last names and create a whole brand new last name. That'd be good.
Yeah, or just like whatever you'd like.
Or it'd be horrible. I'm not sure. Depends on the names.
I think everybody should do that. It's like, why do you take the husband's last name? Just make up a new last name.
All right.
Cool.
That's whose name you take.
Says who?
I have to tell you guys before we go on that Free Talk Live's video archives have been on LBRY for years. LBRY is an uncensorable, decentralized, blockchain-based media sharing protocol, and we're big fans of that here on Free Talk Live. In 2020, LBRY launched Odysee. That's a video sharing website to compete with YouTube, and it's really taking off now with over 1 million channels, many of whom are disaffected YouTube creators. During YouTube's crackdown for not towing the government line on COVID, the Free Talk Live YouTube channel started receiving strikes. Could be taken down at any moment. Thankfully, Odysee started offering live streaming, so now we're streaming live every night, posting our video archives permanently to Odysee, and you can watch live or anytime on our Odysee channel over at video.freetalklive.com. You can also go over to lbry.com to download the desktop app. And if you use that, every video archive you watch, you'll help seed and keep it online forever. Please visit video.freetalklive.com. Follow us on Odysee today, video.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Turd Ferguson calling from Pennsylvania. Turd, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, hey guys. So I've got a little bit of a different topic tonight, a little bit darker one.
Lay it on us, bro.
Sure. To preface this, I haven't smoked any weed in about a week, so I might not be as level-headed and mild-mannered as I normally am, but I'll try to go slow and kind of take you through the facts here.
So this is evil Turd Ferguson.
Are you from another dimension? Wait, do you have a goatee?
I have a full-out beard now. But
what happened to the real Turd Ferguson?
I am the real Turd Ferguson, I promise you.
All right, go ahead.
So in 2020, early 2020, I think you guys will remember a little word called hydroxychloroquine.
Yep.
Yep. This was a medicine that was originally touted as being a effective treatment against COVID-19 before a certain cartel, a big pharma cartel, came after it and tried to destroy it.
So far, so good.
Yeah, and actually, there's a big conspiracy behind this. So Bill Gates, who is one of the richest men in the world, and who has been part of this big pharma cartel over the past 2 years and has a large stake in Gilead, which makes the drug remdesivir, the patented drug, which pharmaceutical companies can still make a ton of money off of. In 2020, Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, and the Bill Gates-funded WHO conspired together to put hydroxychloroquine in a coffin for good, so that it couldn't compete with remdesivir. They did this by literally committing premeditated murder, where they conducted a fake study under the WHO label, where they actually gave patients, senior citizens who had COVID, lethal doses, borderline lethal daily doses at 2,400 milligrams of hydroxychloroquine. Just to give you some perspective, you're only supposed to give people 400 milligrams a day. So on day one, they started out with 2,400 milligrams and then gave them twice the dose, 800 milligrams every day after for this trial.
Okay.
And it resulted in the death of between 1 and 200 senior citizens. Premeditatively, the doctors knew that this was a danger. The doctors who participated in the study knew that this was a dangerous dose, and they did it anyway.
Yep.
A similar study was done in Brazil, too. And the Brazilian prosecutors, who aren't sold out to big pharma the way our country is actually already trying to prosecute the WHO, from what I understand, for the premeditated murder of senior citizens down in Brazil for the exact same manner. And Bill Gates and Dr. Anthony Fauci are behind this conspiracy to murder people to make hydroxychloroquine look fraudulent. And I know that this sounds crazy, like a conspiracy theory, but it's not. It's 100% true. Everything that I just said is
our official Free Talk Live health correspondent, Nikki Moonshine, has been nodding. Nikki Moonbeam has been nodding along as you've told the story. Nikki.
So beginning of COVID, I literally worked in a nursing home and I watched this happen. So absolutely and this was happening, I'm assuming, all around the United States. I only know what I saw personally with my own eyes, and I only know what other nurses and healthcare workers from around the world have told me. But absolutely, they were giving people lethal doses of hydroxychloroquine in the beginning. And then they were like, oh, this is horrible. It doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. At that time, I didn't know anything about it. And I didn't know like what the dosage was. And I honestly didn't even know, I just didn't know much about it. And then when I left that job and then went to my job at the hospital, they started using remdesivir, which is another medication that you mentioned briefly. And that medication, they were also overdosing people on. It was killing them. And a common side effect of that is tanking blood pressure, like the blood pressure drops, liver and kidney failure. So, and then it stems into, after a few days, multi-system organ failure.
Right.
So they were just murdering these people and then being like, it's COVID, it's COVID, it's COVID. We have to put them on ventilators because they can't breathe. And really what it was doing is their lungs were filling with fluid and they were calling it pneumonia. And it was just a huge mess.
I have a question real quick.
Yes.
Because the theory that Turd Ferguson proposed was that they were overdosing hydroxychloroquine so they could get remdesivir to market. But why bring it to market if they're going to overdose people with it anyway and therefore
Turd,
not make the funds on it?
Yeah, to say it's COVID is what I think.
Well, you could just
they
do
wanted
that
they wanted to blame all of the deaths.
Assumably, you would like an answer from Turd Ferguson about your question. We will get to that.
From either. Yeah.
We will get to that here on Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. This is the Sunday night edition. More is on the way.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
When Monster Hunter International discovers one of Isaac Newton's wardstones being auctioned off, they decide to steal it and use it to destroy the Chaos God once and for all. But a mysterious thief upends their plan, and it soon becomes a race against time as something much older and infinitely more evil awakens in the jungles of South America. Monster Hunter Bloodlines by New York Times bestselling author Larry Correia and Baen Books. Visit monsterhunternation.com for more.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Yo, dog, I heard you like Free Talk Live.
So we're going to do an episode of Free Talk Live while Free Talk Live is going, where we're commenting on Free Talk Live. We're calling it Pimp My Free Talk Live.
Pimp My Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live K3000. I don't know.
They watched recorded movies of B movies, though. It's not like they were watching the news live.
I know, but I still think it'd be fun.
Okay.
603-283-6160. That's the telephone number here in the studio. If you'd like to join us, we'll get to your calls in just a minute.
Coming up at Forkfest, the Peanut Gallery, while Free Talk Live is broadcasting.
That's what you call it. You call it the Peanut Gallery. That's exactly the name of the show. For those of you who don't understand what we're talking about, I hypothesized a fictitious show where there's a room, and in that room, on a screen, Free Talk Live is playing live with whatever, let's say it's Tuesday's hosts, right? Tuesday's hosts are on screen talking, and then there's three people sitting watching in this room, watching this screen of Free Talk Live, but these three people are also co-hosts of Free Talk Live.
Just on Tuesday.
Not the Tuesday hosts, so like us, for example, sitting there. And now we're doing like an MST3K. That's Mystery Science Theater 3000 for the uninitiated. Like an MST3K sort of like we're commenting on their commentary. It's kind of like what the chat room does, I guess, except it would be a little bit different. But what did you say?
And we can, the Peanut Gallery? And we can monetize the content.
Yes, I wanted a name for this show, and I think you've come up with it.
There you go.
I love the idea of it being at Forkfest or Porkfest.
Yeah.
So it's like we have whatever the hosts at the table doing their thing, and then you put another microphone at like the Peanut Gallery circle, and they're just like blah blah blah, taxation is theft or whatever libertarians talk about.
We'll see if that comes to transpire. We have calls to get to, but I have to tell you about Forkfest 2020.
See, I knew it was coming.
Since Nikki Moonbeam, Beamershine, I don't know, whatever we're calling you these days, brought it up. You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 27th through July 3rd for the 6th annual Forkfest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out for the first time in 2021. Forkfest takes place the week after Porkfest, but Forkfest is decentralized, which means there's no ticket cost and nobody's in charge. All you have to do is join the fun by reserving your camping or RV site or motel room with Rogers Campground. June 27th through July 3rd. I can't think of a better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving people, activists, and that type of folk in the Shire. You can find out more over at forkfest.party. That's forkfest.party, where you can connect with other attendees, find the Telegram chat, find the Matrix chat, and the Forkfest forum. Again, find all that stuff over at forkfest.party. Hope to see you there. Come and party with the captain. And Nikki, I don't think Richie is going to attend.
Sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 We had, where did he go? Did I flush him? No,
Turd Turgerson.
Okay. Yeah, there he is. Turd, you're back on with us. So Richie, you had asked him a question.
Well, I posed a general question because it was based on what Turd had said and then also what Nikki was saying afterwards.
What was the question?
So Turd Ferguson said hydroxychloroquine was overdosing, where they were prescribing overdoses of it so as to make it look bad, so remdesivir could be brought to market. And then Nikki said they were overdosing people with remdesivir to make it look like COVID was bad. And my general question is, why put hydroxychloroquine out of business, right, to bring in remdesivir if you're going to do the same thing and then still not be able to get any of the the finances from it because you just put your own product out?
Well, for several reasons. Well, first of all, remdesivir is only known as a treatment. It's not a vaccine, and the vaccine is where all the real money is. But let me say, hydroxychloroquine has no patent at all. Its patent's expired, so it's a generic drug. Nobody makes any money off that. It could be, this stuff can be synthesized so easily. I mean, it probably costs more to package in tin foil than it actually does to synthesize. So to get rid of hydroxychloroquine, which was, all the data early on in the pandemic proves beyond any reasonable doubt that it was a good treatment, along with zinc and a myriad of other drugs, including doxycycline. It was obviously treating patients, and this was very bad for Dr. Fauci, who is not the head of the NIAID, not the head of the NIH. He is a businessman. He's been doing this for years and years and years. He is a criminal. And this is the real reason I wanted to call in, because I know FBI agents listen to Free Talk Live all the time and, wasting taxpayer money doing that. So to the FBI agents that are listening right now, I challenge you to go corroborate, verify everything I just said, or try to refute it, which they can't. So I would just, first just check to make sure it's true, and they'll be able to do so very easily. And then once they've done that, they need to arrest Bill Gates for premeditated murder and throw him in prison, because that's what we do to murderers in this country. We throw them in prison.
Hey, thanks for the call, Turd Ferguson.
I mean, I don't think that actually answered the question, but
yeah, it was an answer. The answer was a bit subjective.
It answered the first question, which was why would you want to replace hydroxychloroquine, right?
Yeah.
But why bring your own product to market that's not going to be effective, that's also going to kill people, and therefore not going to be profitable in the long run, because no one's going to use the drug that's ineffective or detrimental.
So, and what also is happening is that they're threatening doctors, right? So even if a doctor speaks up and is like, I want to use this medication versus using remdesivir because I don't think it's working.
Right.
Then they get threatened, like, no, you have to use this. This is the only option. It's hospital policy. That was another one they love to pull. It's hospital policy. And there was actually, like, the federal government came out and said, like, state hospitals are only allowed to use, this is the only medications, or maybe it wasn't like the feds, but like the head up people at whatever, FDA, whatever. They were telling the hospitals, this is the medications that you're allowed to use. So I don't know what sort of bribery was happening at higher levels of the hospitals, but basically it came down to doctors were not allowed to prescribe the medications they wanted to. And then even it got to the point where if doctors wanted to, give somebody a legitimate vaccine exemption, if they had had a really bad side effect, they would get threatened, like their license being pulled.
Okay. So due to the government's overreach into all things healthcare, healthcare suffers from the same thing that just regular government does, which is it's being top down instead of bottom up as far as management is concerned.
Sure.
Gone are the days when your personal physician would, based on your history, your medical history, his knowledge of you, all the things that have gone on in your past, and all the stuff that they take into account, would they devise a plan specifically for you, the individual, Gone are those days. Instead, now they are only, as Nikki pointed out, allowed to prescribe certain things.
And if they were making the vaccines the most important thing, they could have OD'd people on hydroxychloroquine, skipped remdesivir, and just went straight to the vaccines for the same effect, and not have to.
But then we wouldn't have the mass, deaths of COVID.
Okay.
603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Jagruti Dave. Russia has asked China for military assistance, according to media reports citing U.S. officials. This comes as U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan prepares to meet China's top diplomat in Rome. A spokesperson at the Chinese embassy in Washington said he wasn't aware of a Russian request for military aid, telling media outlets China is deeply concerned and grieved on the Ukraine issue. The subject will likely be addressed at the meeting in Rome. According to a National Security Council spokesperson, both sides will discuss the competition between the two countries, as well as the impact of Russia's war against Ukraine on regional and global security. Earlier on Sunday, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told CNN Washington was watching closely to see if China does provide any form of material support or economic support to Russia. A Russian missile strike on a military training base near Ukraine's border with Poland has killed at least 35 people, according to Ukrainian officials. Russia's Ministry of Defense, meanwhile, has claimed the strike killed up to 180 foreign mercenaries and destroyed a large cache of weapons stored at the site. The attack comes after Russia said Western arms sent to Ukraine could be considered legitimate targets. Its proximity to the Polish border is also raising fears in Europe. Charles Gibson has been following developments from Riga in Latvia.
Yeah, this military base is less than 25 kilometres from the border with Poland. And we also have heard reports from people just inside Poland, just across the border, that they actually felt their houses shaking and their windows rattling with these intense missile strikes just around 25 kilometres away from them. This is certainly a very symbolic target for the Russians because it has hosted NATO military drills as recently as September of last year, so just around 6 months ago. It has also in the past hosted foreign military instructors.
The European Union has criticised the latest mass executions in Saudi Arabia, saying they represent a worrying increase in the use of the death penalty in the country. This comes after Saudi Arabia executed 81 people in a single day on Saturday. Rosie Burchard reports from Brussels.
In a statement released on Sunday in response to mass executions in Saudi Arabia, the European Union's Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell said the death penalty was a cruel and inhumane punishment which fails to act as a deterrent to crime. Borrell says the EU is worried about the continued use of capital punishment in Saudi Arabia and says Brussels will keep raising its concerns with the Saudi government, pushing for a complete de facto moratorium. The Saudi press agency says the accused had the right to an attorney and were guaranteed their full rights under Saudi law before being found guilty of committing, quote, multiple heinous crimes.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
You haul 16 tons, and what do you get?
Another day older and deeper in debt.
That's right, Richie Rich. You win. Tell him what he's won, Nikki.
A seat on Free Talk Live.
Hey, all right.
I was really hoping for a lifetime supply of remdesivir.
The phones are packed right now. The only open line is our SIP line. You can find out more about that over at freetalklive.com. I believe sip.freetalklive.com. Let's go straight away to the calls and the fun. Let's start with Billy calling from New Mexico. Billy, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening. I think I can maybe answer that the rest of that question for that you guys that guy didn't answer all of it. And I think what I use, like, I never can pronounce that one drug, resveratrol or whatever.
Yep.
But I think the reason why they use that instead of hydroxychloroquine, he was right. Don't make no money off of it. I think Bill Gates and maybe Fauci have some part of a patent on it, so they made money. And I know personally a handful of people here in Albuquerque that were sick, went to the hospital, and then I started telling everybody, do not go to the hospital when you're sick, because they were giving them that and they were going into renal failure. So, but, you know, they're not going to say that their drug caused, sorry, my dog is barking. Yeah. And you know, this way that they could pad their numbers. And, of course, they're not going to blame it on their drug. They're going to say, well, they died of COVID. You know, it's just like.
It's such a short-term gain, though. Like, the drug is useless. And, you know.
And you know, that now that, you know, like Biden said, now we got this new pill that we're going to hand out to everybody else. And basically what it is hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin.
I have a theory, and
they make the money because they created this drug, and now they have the patent on it. And I'm sure you guys watch TV, and all you see now is drugs after drugs. They're pushing every vaccine, everything. I'm afraid to take any prescription drug. I'm afraid they're putting crap in it. They want to, you know, because I believe that this vaccine was a population control drug. It was to kill us, wasn't to save us. They were getting almost $100,000 a death, weren't they? Something ridiculous.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the call, Billy. We appreciate it. I have a theory, and that is that humankind, in general, feels better when there's I'm going to call it a duality of choice. Right. So there's not always free choice. Sometimes you're only limited to two choices. And this is something that we see in politics, right? There's only Democrats and Republicans, and everybody else is just this, like, ignored.
Wasted vote.
And then, you know, with other things, there's usually like two of a thing, right? You know, when I moved to New Hampshire, there are only two cable companies here, right? And
that's one more than a lot of places.
Right, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, folks are more comfortable when there's like two of a thing. So my theory is that they put this drug on the market just so that there was a second drug on the market, so people wouldn't be all like, you're forcing this one drug on, or there's only one choice, or one, you know, that's just a theory.
That seems reasonable. The short-term profit seems reasonable, I guess.
Yeah.
Nikki also said off air, it's just weird. I go, that's probably the best answer.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Robert in South Carolina. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to say that, you know, I respect all of these people who have done phenomenal things like this. And in the case of Bill Gates, so, you know, according to what I heard, his program, the Windows program that he originally presented to IBM when IBM was looking for somebody to do the PCs, and it was, according to what I heard, it wasn't the best one, but somehow he was very capable or able to somehow put it across despite the fact that his wasn't the best.
He also bought it from somebody else and licensed it and sold the license of somebody else's software.
Okay.
Initially.
Well, I didn't know all the details. I just said that I heard that. And with Mark Zuckerberg, I understand that he had a couple of partners, and he convinced these two partners that the whole thing wasn't worth nearly as much as it was. And then he agreed with them to go into an agreement with him, whereby they would sell their share to him at a price much, much lower than what the whole thing was really worth. They agreed to it, and then he paid them, and then they discovered that it was worth much more, so they went to court, and the judge said it was too late. There's nothing they could do about it anymore.
They sued him because he basically stole their idea. He was hired as a programmer to build a website similar to Facebook in college, and then didn't do the work. and then built it on the side and launched it as Facebook anyway.
Okay, all right, and then with the case of Albert Einstein, Albert Einstein comes from the same area of Germany as my forefathers, and so he was a phenomenal guy as well. But in his case, his theory of general relativity, he presented it to the board, and they were going to test it out to see if it was correct. In other words, the bending of light. And they went down into the Caucasus Mountains. I believe it was during the First World War. And what happened was that the scientists were prevented from doing anything because they wouldn't let them into the exact place that they needed to go. And then later on, they wanted to test it again, I think, and then there were some clouds in the way, so they weren't able to test it again. And then in the meantime, Albert Einstein corrected it, and then they tested it and it was right. And the other thing I found out about Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity, it was right as far as he could projected as far as his mathematics were concerned. But in the meantime, I found out from a couple of friends of mine who were theoretical physicists, they said that there are going to be corrections to that, slight corrections to that over time, because there are certain subatomic particles that affect it, and he could never have known about that, but it wasn't his mistake. But it just for your general interest, that will be slightly corrected over time to reflect the effect that subatomic particles have upon the whole thing.
Okay. So, well, hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. Just getting a little too heady there.
Informative.
Yeah. Dude's got a lot to say, but letting somebody ramble on for too long is bad radio. So thank you for the call, of course.
And yet here we are, still on the air.
That's a great point.
It's also frowned upon to talk badly about the show that you're on.
Okay. I'm just saying we tend to ramble on.
What?
Do we not?
I mean, yeah, I do. Okay. This is true. We vamp frequently, but we're the hosts.
Okay.
The callers are supposed to be on point.
All right.
I guess. I don't know.
Double standard talk live.
I don't know, man. People seem to like us.
I try to have no standard because it helps with the callers. Right. This is why we get the rambling on.
All right.
So, yeah.
You've been judged as too heady and too informative and too smart for the hosts. Goodbye.
Beep. The guy never pauses, right? Like
it's amazing.
So I'm not trying to rip on the guy, but it's just an observation.
No, and he does have a lot of good stuff to say. I mean, he's definitely well informed on several different topics, but it's a lot to take in all at once.
Do you think that he saves it up? Like he's just
pent up,
and he's just waiting for his opportunity.
I think
to
it's
call.
probably like
it's
that
an
all the time.
overinflated balloon, and as soon as you say, Robert, you're on the air, just let's go, and it all comes out at once.
Verbal diarrhea.
So I've mentioned this before. It's probably because having probably called into a number of other shows where you get such a limited amount of time to talk, and you're never going to get in.
Yeah.
Right. You speak as fast as you can to get your point out as quick as you can because you're going to get cut off in like 30 seconds anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
We have callers that do that.
Right. But you don't have to do that on this show.
Yeah.
Right? You can talk as slow as you want.
It's always at the host's discretion.
It is, but if you're entertaining, informative, and engaging, right, you don't you'll get held over a segment, and we'll keep the conversation going.
True. The subjective rule is be interesting.
Right.
Right now, that could be entertaining. That could be factual. It could be a lot of things.
Okay.
And it is subject to interpretation.
But you're not going to get cut off on after 30 seconds if you're interesting, per se.
Generally speaking.
Right.
Unless the host has a bad attitude or didn't like the timbre of your tintinabulation.
Right. And he calls in frequently enough where he should know better by now that he can just have a normal conversation, get all that stuff out, and probably get more of it out if we're able to talk and converse and ask questions.
603-283-6160 if you would like to join in the conversation. This is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. Did you know that if Rin Tin Tin is barking, then that is a Rin Tin Tin Tintinabulation?
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, You cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agrishosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agris Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agrishosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agrishosting.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Welcome back.
We're back, and we're back.
Thank you. Haven't heard that in a minute. What do you got one? You got a welcome back?
Not really, no.
Okay, all right.
I just do my dance.
You just everybody watching at video.freetalklive.com.
This is what you get.
We've got some calls to get to. We'll get to those in just a moment. In the studio for this final segment already. Wow, this show sure is fun when you're having flies. Wait, no, that's what the frog said to the other frog. Time sure is fun when you're having flies. In the studio, it's myself, the captain.
Nikki.
And Richie Rich.
Thank you for the audio interlude, the ribbit.
Was that a tintinabulation?
I always try to, sneak some, soundboard stuff in there, the manual soundboard.
Ribbit is also, what do they call it, onomatopoeia?
Yeah, I love onomatopoeias.
The word sounds like the thing, like belch, right? Kind of sounds like, what you do when you belch. So yeah. Buzz, right? Yeah, onomatopoeia. So I have to say thank you to Colby Keddington. Colby Keddington is a silver level amplifier. That means he contributes some money to Free Talk Live every month to our AMPS program, advertise, market, promote, and support. This helps us get onto more radio stations and promote Free Talk Live and, the greater message of freedom. It's what we do here. And he enjoys us so much that he became a silver amplifier over at amps.freetalklive.com. I guess Colby could be a girl, too. I've never met this person. But at any rate, Colby Keddington, thank you for your contribution.
Is Keddington a real first name or a last name? Who knows?
That's a last name because I don't know anybody named Keddington as a first name. So, yeah. It's all host, what do you call it? Host privilege?
Discretion?
Yeah. Host privilege? Wow. Really getting carried away with the first chair stuff here. Yeah. Host discretion. Yes, thank you. At any rate, if you like the show, like the host, the content we bring, and you want to help us spread the message of freedom, please consider becoming an amplifier. amps.freetalklive.com. Thank you again, Colby Keddington. We appreciate you. Let's go to Sarah in New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. I just want to say that we did finish building our Rapid Ride. It's called the Albuquerque Rapid Ride, ART. And
what do you mean we finished building? You were building this
She's
Rapid
part of the
Ride?
commune.
No, we were like having a lot of controversy, people fighting back and forth, people that opposed it, people that want to build it. I mean, they had about 50 town meetings about the ART. They were advertised, and people were going to throw in lawsuits, but it has been completed now.
Okay, have you had a chance? Have you had a chance to ride it?
Oh yeah, I rode it several times.
Is it actually rapid?
Yeah, it's pretty rapid. It only, instead of the regular bus stops, which has frequent stops, it just goes up maybe a quarter-mile stop and another quarter-mile stop and another quarter. So it is fast.
What is your shift to drive it?
Yeah, my experience with public transit is it usually takes somewhere around 3 times as long to get somewhere as it does if you had an automobile of your own in a city.
Well, that's why I get rid of all the automobiles, Captain, so it's only public transit. You can get there faster.
Yeah, Uber already proved that false.
I literally thought that she was talking about an amusement park ride at first.
Oh,
I'm
the
not
Rapid
gonna lie.
Ride?
Yeah. Yeah.
Coming to the Six Flags.
Sarah, do you enjoy amusement parks? Have you been on any of the rides there?
Yeah, I have, but I'm older now, so I like to ride real rapid transit. I mean, transit that I could get around and grocery shop and go places and go to shopping malls. I'm not concerned about train rides and parks, museums, and I think they got things like that going around here. But
hey, thanks for the call, Sarah. We're glad that you like to ride it and ride it rapid. Let's go to David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, you've got the name incorrect, sir. It's not the Albuquerque Rapid Ride. It's the Albuquerque Vapid Ride.
Why, people vaping on it?
No. Vapid. Look it up. Vapid. V-A-P-I-D. Vapid.
Well, you got to tell our listeners what vapid means then, if you already know.
V-A-P-E-D.
It was vaped. Yeah, well, it's rather, there are nuances to it. It'll be more fun if you look it up. V-A-P-I-D. Because I'm too dumb to explain it anyway. And speaking of that, so Einstein, he won
Wait. This
Nobel.
Actually might describe you on occasion, vapid, offering nothing that is stimulating or challenging.
Yes, that's why I didn't want to define it, because someone might make the connection between myself and the word that I supplied, attributing it to other people.
I got you. So what's your topic tonight? What are you calling about?
Einstein.
Well, just like Sarah, New Mexico government, rather interesting use of $1 billion and some controversy. But let me brag for a second. You were talking about Einstein earlier. Einstein won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921. Mm-hmm. A cousin of mine, Ernest Orlando Lawrence Livermore Labs, he won the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1939. And went on to the Manhattan Project and got a student of his named Robert J. Oppenheimer hired to run the Manhattan Project. And then my cousin Ernest went over and ran Oak Ridge. And there's that. So now that I've bragged.
Congratulations. I'm happy
about someone else's accomplishments.
Thank you.
Yes.
You just happen to be related to.
You sound like a statist.
Well, I don't have any of my own, so I've got to use other people's, all right? Give me a break.
All right, break given.
Yeah. So this might be interesting. I didn't hear that. this might be interesting, or maybe not.
Is it vapid?
It better be $1 billion. Yeah, it's vapid. $1 billion. So your government recently taxed you $1 billion for New Mexico only, as well as the hundreds of billions or trillions or whatever it was that they taxed you and took and gave to all the other states. But there was a controversy in the state of New Mexico where the $1 billion, plus or minus whatever it was, that was gifted from you through your taxes to the state of New Mexico, came into the state of New Mexico, and then the governor decided that it was her decision as to what the $1 billion would be spent on. It was her decision and her decision alone. But the legislature said, yep. But the legislature said, Governor, the decision as to what to do with those kind of funds is for the legislature to decide how to spend that $1 billion. And the governor did not yield. She said, And so the legislature sued her in the Supreme Court of the state of New Mexico, and they won. And they took that $1 billion away from the governor of the state of New Mexico and gave it to the legislature to decide what to do with.
Oh, yeah. See, that's hard. And I have a question.
Give it back to the people.
I have a question. Did the governor... Was that a quote? Did she go,
Yes, she did. That was an exact quote. Right. But here, fast forward, it gets more interesting, because fast forward a couple months or whatever it was, a year, I don't know, and then all of a sudden, the governor did what has never been done before, and that is that there's $50 million in pork money that gets distributed amongst all the senators and representatives for them to spend on pet projects in their districts. Okay. And it's always been done. Never been contested. But after the governor got the $1 billion taken out of her little mitts by the legislature, the governor then seems to have retaliated by completely canceling the $50 million that the senators and representatives have always gotten to spend on their constituents.
Dude,
I will veto everything.
This makes me so happy. Because what it means is that cancel culture is finally coming to politics internally. Right, well, and that means that like politicians are going to be canceling each other.
The founders were right. That's why they designed 3 branches of government to keep them infighting forever.
Nothing makes me happier than to see politicians and internal, departments of governments fighting each other. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Gridlocked government.
But my point was to point out that the New Mexico government, which was so mature in their trafficking of my children, which I proved, with a unanimous decision at the New Mexico Court of Appeals, that M. Monica Zamora and John J. Romero had illegally trafficked my children. They were so mature in doing that, but they're so childish in their little tit-for-tat retaliation because she took our money, and then she's like, no, they took my money, and so she retaliated. It's the.
Hey, do you know what's rude, David? When somebody cuts you off in the middle of a sentence like that, that's what's rude. Sorry about that. Thanks for the call. We appreciate you.
How vapid of you.
How vapid of me. Vapid, adjective, offering nothing that is stimulating or challenging, used in a phrase. Tuneful but vapid musical comedies, according to the search engine on the glowing box.
I like the lacking taste or flavor definition of vapid.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes. Lacking taste could
or
be...
zest.
Could
lacking
be
zest.
Lacking... Not using soap?
I guess.
That's me lacking Irish Spring in my case, but... Did you hear about the guy who only smelled on one side? He couldn't find any left guard. We're out of time. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Free Talk Live. If you missed any of our show, you can find it in the archives at freetalklive.com. Thanks and peace.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A